Chapter 2076. An indifferent voice rang out. Su Yi's undisciplined eyes shot out coldness, incomparably powerful, and said, "But I want to know who you are. Why do you have the golden dragon bloodline? Are you from the Long family? Tell me." Su Yi's grip on Long Ye's wrist tightened as the golden dragon aura burst forth from his hand. Long Ye was in so much pain that her expression changed as she sucked in a cold breath. At this moment, Long Ye was finally sure that Su Yi also had the golden dragon bloodline. Now that he had found the guardian of Shanglong village, he had come to challenge her. He said that only she could save Lu Qi. It was obvious that he did not believe her and thought that she was from the Long family. Thinking of this, Long Ye was furious and her eyes seemed to be burning. She raised her nose and said fiercely, "Who I am has nothing to do with you. You have found the guardian. I said that I would take him away. You can't stop me." Su Yi snorted softly. With a faint smile, he leaned closer to Long Ye's face. In his starry eyes, Long Ye was as panicked as a little rabbit. Suddenly, a fragrant wind blew in his face. Su Yi's heart skipped a beat and the figures of Duanmu Xiaoman and Lu Ruoxi immediately appeared in his mind. "Little bastard, what are you doing?" Looking at the stiff nose that was close to her face, Long Ye's face changed. Her clear eyes were full of shock and shame, and she turned her head away. Bang! Suddenly, a huge amount of soul energy poured into Long Ye's glabella, and she became absent-minded. Her consciousness froze, and when she came back to her senses, Su Yi was already walking towards the bed. Long Ye was furious, but there was nothing she could do. "I don't care who you are. Don't hurt Shanglong village. Before I save Lu Qi, you stay here," Su Yi said as he climbed onto the stone bed. I'll kill you. Little bastard. Let go of me." She furrowed her brows and looked embarrassed. She glared at Su Yi from afar as if she wanted to skin him alive. Su Yi immediately shook his head. Healing Zhong Yunkang had already consumed too much of his soul energy. He adjusted his expression and forced himself to focus. Immediately after, he swallowed a bottle of spirit liquid. Boundless heaven and earth energy mixed with a medicinal fragrance filled the room. Lifting Lu Qi gently, Su Yi looked back at the stiff Long Ye, who was still pressed down. Su Yi leaned against the stone wall. Her golden hair was bright and enchanting. Amidst her charm, her curves were graceful and enchanting. Su Yi smiled indifferently and then restrained his smile. He quickly changed his hand seals, and a fiery red, diamond-shaped flame fruit slowly floated out of Su Yi's interspatial bag. It was bright and glistening, sparkling and translucent, as if it had just been peeled off from a tree. It shone like a mirror, strangely smooth. Su Yi raised his eyebrows and a golden dragon aura spread out from his body. It quickly wrapped around the dragon cup spiritual fruit, releasing a faint golden medicinal fragrance. After the medicinal fragrance was released, the fruit slices superimposed on the sparkling and translucent dragon cup spiritual fruit were instantly burned. Boom! The whole basement suddenly became hot, and the rapidly rising high temperature rippled out a fiery red brilliance that wrapped Su Yi and Lu Qi. Long Ye's big watery eyes were wide open. The magical treatment process was witnessed by Long Ye, and she was horrified. Even if her posture was strange, no matter how uncomfortable it was not so important. Because Su Yi's golden dragon aura was far superior to her own. Long Ye thought, what was the feeling of wanting to crawl in front of Su Yi? Did he also accept the inheritance of the golden dragon mystery territory? She couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva and stop talking. At this time, what filled Long Ye's body was an extreme shock, and the hair on her back stood up. Shanglong Village, Outer Square. C0 Under the command of Elder Yu and Lu Kan, the villagers who were quickly busy were actively setting up the Golden Dragon restriction. As soon as Isu came back, the state of everyone was not as desperate as before. Except for the children who were placed at home, the villagers who were able to fight were all knocking at home, injecting their little golden dragon aura into the boundary nodes of the restriction. Today's Shanglong village was full of a sense of courage and toughness. Even if they knew that Shanglong village was in great trouble, everyone's eyes were still full of determination. This was a kind of determination for life, a persistence for life, a protection for the bloodline. Everyone understood that the Guardian was still there, and Isu was the messenger sent by the Guardian. Isu would definitely lead the villagers of Shanglong village to avoid the disaster, just like the previous Guardian. The Shanglong village was indestructible. Shanglong village was not afraid of the Long family. It could withstand any storm. Standing in the middle of the square, Lu Kan supported Elder Yu, looked around, and said with some emotion, "Since Isu came back, his appearance has changed. But I'm still worried. I don't think there's such a coincidence. If I'm wrong, I'll personally apologize to the new Guardian." Lu Kan's gaze kept moving back and forth between the villagers as he said shyly. Thinking back to Su Yi's confident gaze, it really didn't seem like the behavior of someone from the Long family. As he spoke, Lu Kan's hostility towards the two outsiders lessened due to the villagers' reactions. Since these two people had already found Shanglong village, if they were really from the Long family, Shanglong village should have already ceased to exist. Isu had also received the Guardian's approval. Lu Kan and Elder Yu both believed in the Guardian's vision. Village Chief, when Father wakes up, let's have Shanglong village return to Limitless Sect to avoid danger. During the Elders' preparatory meeting, Master and the Elders discussed it. Master Wu Long received the Guardian's guidance to go to the Chaos Realm to obtain the inheritance. Limitless Sect's strength these years has a lot to do with the Golden Dragon bloodline. Limitless Sect will not forget this kindness. Limitless Sect promises to replace the Guardian and protect Shanglong. After a pause, Elder Yu's brows gradually tightened. Limitless Sect was a place that could temporarily protect Shanglong. How could he not know this? How could the Guardian not know this? His gaze was filled with reluctance, as if he had seen through everything. He laughed softly. "Child, Grandpa is old. I've lived here since I was born." Elder Yu's eyes were blurry as he leaned to the side and held Lu Kan's arm tightly. He whispered, "Little Kan, you have Shanglong village in your heart. When you knew that the Long family had come to Yunzhou, you ignored your master's orders and secretly reported back. Grandpa is very happy. However, can Limitless Sect really protect Shanglong? How long can they protect it for? Can they fall out with the Long family for Shanglong?" The three consecutive questions made Lu Kan hesitate for a while. Elder Yu laughed softly. "Little Kan, Grandpa doesn't want to run around anymore. Promise Grandpa that you'll protect Shanglong village from now on. Shanglong is home. Home is still the best." "Grandpa Village Chief." Lu Kan furrowed his brows, worry appearing on his childish face. Elder Yu clearly wanted to protect the village with his life. Elder Yu patted Lu Kan's shoulder comfortingly and said kindly, "What's the matter? Wait until your father wakes up." Chapter 2077. Dark clouds covered the high mountains of the cloud region as though they were covering the sky from all directions. The hot and humid air indicated an oppressive atmosphere. Two experts in dark purple robes with dragon embroidery were standing close to the branches as they patrolled the sky. Judging from their auras, one of them was at the 4th stage of Yuan Domain, while the other was at the 5th stage of Yuan Domain. The expert who spoke first had eyes like torches as he searched for the remaining golden dragon aura in the air like a radar. "Long One. Looks like the upper dragon village isn't far away." Han Wulong pretended to be obedient when we went to the Boundless Sect this time, but he didn't expect us to invite him to open the Golden Dragon Mystery Dimension in the Chaos region on top of another important mission, which is to find the only remaining Golden Dragon bloodline, the Upper Dragon Clan. The expert called Long One nodded and continued to search for hidden clues in the dark green mountains. He raised his eyelids and said, Long Shan, according to the news, Grand Elder Long Kuei's granddaughter, Miss Long Ya, has also come to the cloud region. Why haven't we met her yet? Long Shan spoke faintly as he hovered in the air and scanned the dark green waves below with his eagle-like eyes. It's best if we don't meet her. Even if we do, she will snatch all the credit. Don't you know what kind of person Grand Elder is? Long One laughed strangely in his wide robes. The corner of his mouth twitched as he said coldly, but Long Ya is a first-class beauty in the heavenly palace. In order to capture Su Yi, young Master Long Tsang can even give up on her. If we really meet Long Ya, won't we? As soon as he finished speaking, the expert gave the other expert a look and stroked his chin maliciously. Both of their eyes immediately lit up, and their small and wretched eyes were filled with vulgarity. Their filthy laughter spread far and wide in the green mountains and rivers. Yuan Qi vibrated and spread out along with the ripples in the air. Chirp, chirp. Even the birds on the branches below their feet couldn't listen anymore. They flapped their wings and flew into the distance, covering a large area of the sky. The sky was dark and gloomy. In the weird, dangerous, and depressing atmosphere, Upper Dragon Village spent more than an hour in the quicksand of time. Liu Kan and Elder Yu made the final arrangements at home. Isu and Yuya, who were treating Lu Qi, had not come out yet. Liu Kan's heart was still hanging in his throat. Standing in the middle of the plaza once more, Liu Kan and Elder Yu could see that the dark clouds in the sky were getting thicker and thicker. With the arrival of a great battle, everything seemed to be covered by a layer of obscurity. It was clearly noon, but the blazing sun had lost its splendor and was dim and lifeless. The forest was steaming, but the tips of the leaves had lost their vitality. They drooped their heads and drooped down. In the depths of the clouds, muffled thunder rumbled. The hot and stuffy atmosphere made people restless for no reason. Everyone knew that a crazy storm of Menglei was about to arrive. At the same time, the villagers realized that the time was finally up and walked out of their stone houses. Unlike before, the wounds in the eyes of the villagers were hidden, and the excitement and glory filled their eyebrows. The old, the weak, the women, and the young all carried weapons in their hands. They activated the aura of the golden dragon hidden in their blood and walked out with firm steps with their heads held high. Dozens of people lined up in an orderly manner and stood behind Liu Kan and Elder Yu with their backs straight. Elder Yu, we're here. A rough man led two people behind him and finally arrived. His face was as calm as water, and he walked like a shooting star. Like a god of war, he bent down his broad body and bowed respectfully to the village chief. Then, the man turned around and looked at his wife and an old but capable woman behind him. His face was full of pride and pride. Elder Yu, the 4 members of the Nyo family, except for Anyo, my wife and my mother are all here. They're all here. The neat and loud voice resounded through the sky. The sound waves rolled out, mixed with Yuan Qi energy, and directly stirred up the dust on the ground. It was just a short number, but it was powerful and resonant. It was like an army's command, steady as a rock and inspiring. It was like a bugle call to charge, causing the group of people behind to be covered in fiery energy. Every villager's face was full of righteous indignation and strength. Hearing the loud voice, Elder Yu, who had been staring at the changes at the village entrance, trembled as if he had been electrocuted. He wriggled his body and slowly turned his head, shocked by the formation in front of him. Elder Yu stared at the familiar faces around him. They were full of life and showed no signs of fear. Elder Yu pulled himself out of his shock and revealed a familiar, benevolent smile. No one would have thought that at the critical moment of Upper Dragon Village, not only the strong men, but also the elderly and women, fearless and unafraid of death. Elder Yu was so excited that he gripped the walking stick in his hand even tighter. He said in a low voice, "Debeo? You all, this is Sai." Elder Yu's dry lips trembled and his voice choked in his throat. He then shook his head and sighed, full of reluctance. "Ah, The leading villagers looked at each other and laughed heartily. One after another, regardless of age, they all bowed solemnly to Elder Yu. Nyodabeo stepped forward and brushed his dirty and messy short hair. His gaze moved from Liu Kan to Elder Yu and said respectfully, "Elder Yu, protecting Upper Dragon Village is also our responsibility. We were born here and grew up here, so we should protect it with our lives." Yes. The villagers present clenched their fists and nodded, their eyes filled with passion and pride. The 4 members of the Liu family, except for Xiao Ben, are all here. The 3 members of the Qin family, except for Xiao Lei, are all here. The 2 members of the Liu family, except for Xiao Fei, are here to protect the village. The 5 members of the Wang family, except for Lan Lan, are here to fight with their lives. The reports of the personnel rose and fell one after another. Like a wave of sound, the golden dragon aura lit up everyone's body. Faster. New Ly is the fastest. Upper KWY0 suddenly, the golden light flashed. Their eyes were filled with passion and pride. The light of a spark could set a prairie ablaze. The faint golden dragon aura gathered at one point, and the ferocious roar of a dragon exploded. The surrounding space was impacted, and the energy ripples quickly drifted into the distance. In the other corner, a deep voice was deafening. A rather vigorous woman in the prime of her life shouted at the top of her lungs. Qianqian's mother will also participate in protecting Upper Dragon Village. After the reports, one after another, the eyes of every villager began to turn red. However, the simple and honest smile on his face had never faltered. All of the villagers present looked at Elder Yu and Liu Kan with bright eyes. Elder Yu. Liu Kan pursed his lips. He could no longer suppress the excitement and passion in his heart as he looked at Elder Yu. Bam! It was as if everyone had agreed to participate in the battle. Liu Kan finally vented the depression in his heart. His eyes widened as he looked at the villagers around him and pointed his fist at the sky. Chapter 2078. Roar! The dragon will not die. The villagers shouted in unison, their voices shaking the sky. Immediately, the golden light on the villagers became dazzling. Countless spots of light converged to form a golden dragon silhouette, occupying the central square in the form of a long strip. The silhouette was filled with an indescribable aura that shot into the sky. In the dusky sky, the golden light was vast and surging like divine chains, magnificent and shocking. The scattered golden light was the villagers' love for Shanglong Village, the convergence of their life force. The villagers raised their proud heads at the same time, looking at the golden dragon restriction above their heads like an upside-down bowl, and smiled sincerely. This was their Shanglong Village. The Shanglong Village forever. The home that they would protect with their lives. Bang! Suddenly, a large gust of gloomy wind blew into the square, and an extremely dangerous aura tore apart the fiery atmosphere. Bang bang! The ground shook rapidly, and from the center of the square, countless deep gullies spread out like a spider web, frightening the soul. The villagers quickly released their origin void stage cultivation and supported each other, trying their best to maintain their balance as they vigilantly looked at the village entrance, where the energy was the strongest. At this moment, 2 small black shadows were expanding at the village entrance like crows spreading their wings, approaching the village at an unbelievable speed. "They're here." Elder Yu's expression quickly became serious, and he quickly tightened his grip on the walking stick in his hand. As soon as he finished speaking, Elder Yu's 8th level void stage cultivation quickly spread out, and his stooped body suddenly straightened. A cold light flashed in his narrowed eyes, and Elder Yu shouted angrily, "Everyone, get ready! Defend against the dragon thieves!" Yes. Immediately, an endless golden dragon's aura spread out from everyone, and an unbelievable energy gathered in the air. Everyone listened to the order and quickly lined up. The surrounding villagers held each other's hands, and in less than half a breath's time, they formed a semicircle around the village entrance. The small and exquisite Shanglong village was wrapped in a sea of golden dragon's aura, and the incomparably fierce roar of the golden dragon resounded through the heavens and earth. Heaven and earth roared, and the ground collapsed. "Little Can." Elder Yu shouted to the side. Elder Yu gave Liu Ken a look, and Liu Ken nodded in understanding. The two's footsteps changed, and their movements were like lightning. Bang bang! Golden light suddenly appeared under their feet as they adjusted their positions and stood at the head of the semicircle formation like the eye of the formation. It was like adding the finishing touch. Once they were all assembled, golden radiance surged. The golden dragon formation formed by the dozens of people surged with an intense aura. Pure golden dragon aura gushed out incessantly, and the spatial energy of the entire upper dragon village expanded to the extreme. Standing at the very front, Elder Yu sensed the aura of the newcomer. Soon after, his gaze turned solemn as he loudly shouted, "Old fellow, come out!" Bang! Immediately, the old and worn-out walking stick exploded due to the vigorous elemental energy. Elder Yu responded and pulled out a long sword forged from gold. Golden light flashed, and the tip of the sword was intimidating. Sword rays danced in the air as they tore through space and emitted a humming sound. Elder Yu shouted, "The Golden Dragon Guardian formation can be used for both offense and defense. At most, it can defend against attacks below the third level of the Origin Domain stage. The person who has come is much stronger than the Origin Ancestor realm. It seems like today will be a tough battle." The gazes of Liu Can and the rest of the villagers flickered. Their calm faces were instantly filled with boundless fighting spirit. They shouted in unison, "Fight!" "Villagers of Upper Dragon Village, are you afraid?" Liu Can's blood was boiling as well, and his eyes were bloodshot. "Not afraid," everyone shouted. The farming tools and weapons in their hands were also imbued with the golden dragon aura. They were ready for battle, and their golden eyes were filled with a fiery fighting spirit. In an instant, the golden dragon guardian formation seemed to have exploded, and the dense radiance continued to expand. A look at Original G chapter above +0 rumble. Auras surged wildly as the two black figures that were flying over paused in midair. Shortly after, they sped up and quickly arrived in front of them. Ah! Stepping through the void, two men in dark purple robes with dragon patterns landed at the entrance of the village. They maintained a distance of several feet from the Golden Dragon Guardian formation. When they saw so many golden dragon bloodlines, they could not help but laugh wildly. Who would have thought? The forsaken dragon clan that has escaped for 100 years is really here. The dragon god is protecting us. The expert called Long Wen's long and narrow eyes surged with a trace of coldness as he roared at the sky. He was extremely pleased with himself. The 5th level Origin Domain stage Longshan had his hands behind his back. His gaze was cold and arrogant as he looked at the villagers below with a sneer and said indifferently, "Do you want us to attack or surrender yourselves?" His words were sharp and his attitude was filled with the Nirvana Dragon Palace's disdain and cold-bloodedness toward other golden dragon bloodlines. Hearing this, a dark blue longsword appeared in Liu Can's hand. The corner of his mouth twitched as he roared, "Long family bastard, don't go too far. Do you think Upper Dragon Village will surrender after more than 200 years of grudges?" Narrowing their eyes, Long One and Long Shan looked at each other, shook their heads, and laughed. Their pitiful gazes fell on this group of weaklings. "Idiot!" Rolling his eyes, Long Shan snorted lightly. His indifferent gaze was filled with disdain. "Brat who doesn't care about his life, I gave you a way out. Right, where's Zhong Yunkong? Didn't that guy protect you for 200 years? Tell him to get out here." Long One ridiculed. "Impudent!" Elder Yu looked up at the sky, and a ray of golden light shot out from the longsword in his hand. He reprimanded loudly, "How dare you mention the Lord Guardian's name?" Bang! From the bottom to the top, the furious Elder Yu flew into the air. Immediately after, everyone released their origin void stage strength. Their vitality condensed and connected with heaven and earth. Above the sky, dozens of people revealed a fierce glint in their eyes. They were fearless. Elder Yu didn't say anything else. He held the golden longsword horizontally in his right hand, and his left index and middle finger slid from the middle of the sword to the tip. Blood-red killing intent shot out from his eyes. Whoosh! Immediately, a bright blood-red line floated out from his fingers. Golden light spread out, and wind and thunder were awe-inspiring. Elder Yu's body trembled in the violent golden wind. He shouted at the crowd, "Upper Dragon Village, help me break through the enemy! Kill!" The villagers all spread out their arms, and their bodies were covered in a faint golden dragon color. In the midst of the madness, the eyes of Elder Yu, who was at the front of the formation, flickered. His body moved like lightning, and he jumped out of the dragon eye position. Swish! Suddenly, Elder Yu's aura rose rapidly. His limbs, bones, flesh, and blood rapidly exploded. A faint golden light film perfectly covered Elder Yu, and at the same time, his aura rose sharply. 9th level of the Origin Void stage. 1st level of the Origin Monarch stage. Crackling sounds came from their bodies, and everyone's eyes were filled with tears. Elder Yu was overdrawing his life to support the last glory of Upper Dragon Village. 3rd level of the Origin Domain stage. His cultivation aura stopped abruptly at this moment, and an endless golden dragon aura lingered around Elder Yu's body. His torn clothes turned into ashes and dissipated. The veins on his swollen muscles were like hornless dragons and snakes, and it was shocking. Chapter 2079. Roar! Suddenly, everyone felt a pain in their heads as an extremely terrifying soul pressure swept out from Elder Yu's body. The golden longsword in Elder Yu's hand was already suffused with vivid and lifelike dragon patterns. Golden Sword of Annihilation. Go! Elder Yu's cold gaze danced like flames. As the cold shout fell, an astonishingly huge golden dragon bolt flew out from the sword light. It was like the brilliance of a star that fluctuated in the void. It swept through everything in its path and blasted toward Long One and Long Shan with unstoppable force. Bang, bang, bang! Above the void, where the sword passed, the vast spatial ripples immediately shattered into pieces. Elder Yu used all his strength to slash through the void and split open the Long family's turbidity. Rumble! Long One and Long Shan waited in place. Seeing the soaring golden light slashing towards them, their pupils shrank for a moment before returning to normal. Then, a trace of ridicule appeared in the depths of their cold, pitch-black pupils. "You're only at the 3rd stage of the Origin Domain realm. Go ahead." Long Shan crossed his arms and raised his gaze, indicating for Long One to deal with it alone. Then, Long Shan's figure suddenly swayed. A vast and mighty energy wind rushed out from his deep purple robe with dragon patterns. He lightly tapped the void and circles of energy ripples appeared around him. The sound of the wind breaking stopped. When they looked at Long Shan again, he had already appeared in the void 100 meters above them. High up in the sky, Long Shan's face was gloomy. His gaze fell on the faces of every villager as a sneer hung on the corner of his mouth. His killing intent was awe-inspiring as he coldly said, "Leave one alive and bring him back. The rest die." TD Latest Chapter. Section 1. PJD-0. A cold light shot out from Long Shan's eyes. His resentful voice floated back and forth in the air, binding all the villagers present like soul-hooking chains. Immediately, the surrounding villagers felt a chill in their hearts. The hairs on their backs stood on end as their souls throbbed with unease. On the opposite side, seeing Elder Yu's swift and violent golden sword attack, not only was Long One not worried, he even had a sinister smile on his face. He seemed to enjoy this kind of desperate attack from a weakling. Long One narrowed his eyes and smirked. He crossed his left hand over his right hand, twisting his wrist while twisting his neck. Immediately, a vast dragon's might swept out like a vortex. The corners of Long Wen's mouth suddenly widened, revealing his fang-like teeth as he licked his dry lips with a wicked smile. A thick palm slowly extended from his sleeve, and a ferocious golden dragon shadow appeared behind him, whistling through the air. Since that's the case, then all of you can go and die. Long Wen's palms flashed with yuan qi, and he crossed his palms in the air and changed into a posture. Then, he pushed outward, and a golden dragon light shield covered in divine light appeared in front of Long Wen. Suddenly, golden light, wind, and thunder rippled through heaven and earth. The golden dragon on the shield was like a living creature with its mouth wide open. Crimson rays of light shot out continuously from within, and a deafening dragon roar sounded, as if it could devour the souls of all living creatures at any time. Bang! The moment the shield was erected, Elder Yu's sword wave arrived as well. The ferocious golden light brazenly struck the golden dragon shield, and a sharp and desolate sonic boom sounded like a bomb hitting heaven and earth. Strong winds instantly engulfed heaven and earth. At the same time, the violent shockwaves forced Long Wen to dodge and retreat rapidly. After stabilizing himself, Long Wen's lips curled up in disdain, and a cold, blade-like aura leaked out. "Golden Dragon Break! Devour!" Long Wen shouted. His 5 fingers shook, and his dark purple robe fluttered quickly. Roar! Golden light appeared on the shield, and the cold aura of the golden dragon once again soared into the sky. The ferocious golden dragon instantly broke through the shield and roared. Its huge mouth was like a magnet that devoured the sword wave completely. "What?" Elder Yu's expression changed greatly after his attack. He trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. This move was the strongest sword move that he had created by combining the strength of the villagers with the Golden Dragon Protection formation. How could it be so easily blocked by Long Wen? Impossible! Before he could recover from his shock, Elder Yu suddenly felt a kind of crushing soul energy rush toward him. The aura of the explosion swept through heaven and earth. In the distance, Long Wen had unknowingly lifted up a golden ball of light. Ignorant ants, this is the difference between bloodline and strength. In your next life, reincarnate well and don't have the golden dragon bloodline. Long Wen's eyes contained a piercing cold light. He coldly admired the panicked expressions of the upper dragon villagers, adding to their ferocity. Clang! Clang! As soon as he finished speaking, the golden ball of light in front of Long Wen's chest came crashing down like a cannonball. Halfway through, the golden ball of light split, and a stretched golden dragon's scales opened and flashed with a fierce light. Golden dragon claws covered the sky and pounced toward Elder Yu and the villagers of Upper Dragon Village. The dragon's roar was deafening, and the sound of the heavens resounded, reverberating in the hearts of the villagers. It was like 1,000 thunderous birds that would never die. When the villagers saw this, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Even though they were already terrified in their hearts, they were still calm and fearless on the surface. Killing intent filled the air, and anger surged. At this time, Elder Yu had also returned to the front of the Golden Tower. He stood in the dragon eye position, and only endless cold light flashed in his turbid eyes. This time, the fierce and hot aura of the golden dragon around Elder Yu rose to the extreme. He took a deep breath of the cold air and shouted angrily, "Villagers of Upper Dragon Village, are you afraid?" There was a faint coldness in his eyes. Everyone could hear that Elder Yu's angry roar was filled with grief. This was his last stand. This was the last defense of Upper Dragon Village. No! At this time, the villagers had already disregarded life and death. The killing intent in their eyes flickered fiercely, and the fierce aura intertwined with the chaotic ripples in the air. No matter how their chests rose and fell, no matter how difficult it was to breathe, the villagers all straightened their backs, and their faces were cold and resolute. They were all sharp and proud, and their expressions were unafraid of death. Form the formation. Protect the village. Elder Yu commanded. Immediately, everyone's blood boiled. Standing in front of them, Longwen frowned slightly and let out a soft sound of surprise. His eyes were like poisonous snakes as he waited for the villagers of Upper Dragon Village to make their last stand. If they could hold, Upper Dragon break. If they couldn't, Upper Dragon die. Boom! In midair, the head and tail of the semicircular golden dragon formation quickly connected, and the storm of air quickly shattered the ripples in the air. At the same time, Elder Yu and Liu Kan quickly flashed to the center of the formation and held their long swords horizontally in front of them. Golden Dragon Holy Transformation! Elder Yu and Liu Kan shouted at the same time. Ha! The dozens of villagers took the opportunity to hold their weapons horizontally in front of them, their expressions cold and resolute. The fiercely expanding aura of the golden dragon instantly surrounded them. The huge circular golden light and the golden dragon collided in an instant. The ferocious golden dragon broke through the air and stabbed into the golden dragon formation like an awl. Boom! Golden waves rose and fell, and the wind and thunder clashed. Chapter 2080. Elder Yu and Liu Kan's faces were as pale as paper as the golden dragon aura fluctuated endlessly in the air. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying collision between two Yuan domains exploded on the small Upper Dragon Village. Concentric circles of shock waves exploded on the spot along with the radiance of the divine chains. From afar, it looked like a small volcano had set off endless thunderstorms. Due to their prominent positions, Elder Yu and Liu Kan suffered the greatest impact. Bloody wounds appeared all over their bodies due to the huge energy storm. Some of the wounds even revealed eerie white bones. It was a ghastly sight. In an instant, it was like a domino had collapsed. Every villager in the Golden Dragon formation suffered injuries of varying degrees, and the energy of the formation also began to weaken correspondingly. Hold on! Hold on! Elder Yu and Liu Kan still clenched their teeth, their eyes bloodshot. They were completely fearless. Don't give up. We won't give up. The eyes of the Niu family, Qianqian's mother, and the rest of the villagers twitched at the same time as they used all their strength to resist this final attack. Fools! Longwen snorted coldly. Evil golden patterns surged out of his sharp, icy eyes once again. Compared to the villagers, Longwen's injuries were completely negligible due to his 4th-level Yuan domain cultivation. Bang! Retracting his pitiful gaze, Longwen's broad palm once again shot out a ferocious golden dragon bolt. Both of his palms stretched out horizontally like a primordial golden dragon descending into the world. All of the power stacked on top of the withered and broken golden dragon formation. The sudden surge of energy surged like a mountain. Astonished gazes swept across every villager's face, and paint wounds flashed across their faces. There was only one thought in the villagers' minds. As expected, we still can't hold on? In the end, the golden dragon formation exploded brilliantly in the air. Terrifying sonic booms surged out of dozens of villagers' bodies as they rapidly dispersed in the air. Rustle! Dozens of terrifying collisions rang out. The villagers of Upper Dragon Village fell from the sky like birds with broken wings. In the distorted space, dozens of figures smashed into the central square like sandbag. Strong winds blew in the surroundings. The dissipating golden dragon's aura was ear-piercing and sinister, as if heralding the destruction of Upper Dragon Village. Phew! Longwen, who was blasted back by the impact, took a deep breath. His figure finally stopped in the aftershock. His expression was ghastly as he smacked his lips and muttered to himself. A bunch of smelly bugs, they're quite troublesome. The corners of Longwen's mouth twitched imperceptibly. Inside his sleeves, Longwen's right hand was twitching. Shock and astonishment flashed across Longwen's eyes. At this moment, he finally understood why this group of Golden Dragon descendants, who were only at the origin void stage, could survive in the world for so long. The defensive formation of the pliant dragon lived up to its reputation. Even if he was alone, he would not be able to break through it without using his ultimate skill. He raised his head and looked at Long Shan in the sky. Then, the two of them looked at each other. They were like evil gods descending on the central plaza. O&M Look Straight? Edition E. A chapter, section Super W0, in the square, painful groans resounded unceasingly. Long One and Long Shan's gloomy and cold gazes were fixed on the villagers in the deep pit. Narrowing their eyes, the shock in their eyes was still hard to conceal. After suffering such severe injuries, most of the villagers of Upper Dragon, who were at the nascent Void Realm, had fainted due to their powerful Golden Dragon bloodline. Such excellent Golden Dragon bloodline was rare in the world. In the distance, Elder Yu struggled to get up. Anger and fury made him spit out a mouthful of dark red blood mist. His face twitched as he said coldly, "If you want to kill us, then kill us. The pliant dragon village will never yield." Long One and Long Shan's eyes twitched. The killing intent hidden deep in their eyes shot out. They said coldly, "A bunch of bugs. It's not a pity to kill them. As long as Zhong Yunkang is there, I can consider sparing you." Zhong Yunkang was the 6th generation of the Golden Dragon. He was the true core of the pliant dragon branch. Draconis' plan was to find Han Wulong and Zhong Yunkang and gather the power of the 3 bloodlines to open the Golden Dragon Mystery Realm and obtain the power of the Golden Dragon again. Although the villagers in front of him had a more orthodox bloodline than Long One and Long Shan, they were still useless. Hearing this, the villagers who were still conscious felt their hearts tighten. The dangerous atmosphere became tense again. Elder Yu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He used his hand to support himself with the golden sword and said coldly, "You want us to tell you where the Guardian is? Don't even think about it. If you want to kill us, then kill us. Don't talk nonsense. There are no cowards in the pliant dragon village." At this time, a burly man stood up from behind Elder Yu. His eyes were burning. It was On Nyo's father, Nyo Debeo. He said with a trembling body, "Yes. You bastards, don't even think about finding the Guardian." Long Shan raised his eyebrows and sneered at Nyo Debeo. Suddenly, his killing intent surged. When Elder Yu's gaze changed, Long Shan's figure had already rushed out without warning, and a golden shadow of a fist smashed out violently in the air. Bang! Thunder rumbled. Long Shan's figure flew back in the air. Nyo Debeo had already crashed into the stone house like a missile. Broken stones exploded and dust flew. Like a bomb, the stone house turned into dust in an instant. "Debeo! Brother Debeo!" Before anyone could react, the 2 figures had already staggered towards the ruined stone house, followed by sorrowful cries that resounded in all directions. Elder Yu and the others who had regained their senses stared fiercely at Long Shan. Their eyes were like spitting fire. Long Shan acted as if nothing had happened. He clapped his hands, his cold mouth full of contempt. His gaze turned from the ruins to Elder Yu. He snorted coldly, "If I don't tell you to speak, you can't speak. If I tell you to speak, you must speak. Speak, I'll ask you one last time. Where is Zhong Yunkang?" "You." Behind him, mournful cries lingered. Elder Yu's eyes were as red as blood. He bit his lips, his killing intent incomparably strong. Looking at Elder Yu's determined expression, Long One shrugged helplessly. He walked to the side of a villager and laughed strangely. Lu Kan, who was nearby, was slightly moved. So Long One was aiming at Qianshan's mother. "What are you doing? Bullying a woman and child, what kind of ability is that?" Lu Kan's blood-stained face was stuck to the ground. His right hand was clenched into a fist as he slammed it fiercely. Hearing this, Long One faintly turned his head. The corners of his mouth twitched as he sized up Lu Kan, whose aura was obviously stronger, with a bright smile, and said, "Then, how about I bully you? After he finished speaking, the corners of Long Wen's mouth slowly rose into a satisfied arc. A trace of extremely strong killing intent surged between his brows. Long Wen's intention made Elder Yu's eyes burn with passion again. He shouted loudly, "Little Can! Don't kill the child! Bastard!" When Long Wen's whip leg swept over Liu Can's head, everyone's eyes widened. The pressure of a powerhouse coming over enveloped everyone's hearts. Elder Yu's face was already ferocious and ashen. "No. Don't kill Liu Can." Chapter 2081. Elder Yu's wrinkled face flushed red. His helpless grief had been completely replaced by resentment and anger. "You've gone too far." Elder Yu was furious. His voice filled with grief and indignation resounded throughout the entire place. This kind of grievance and begging for mercy ignited the killing intent in Long Wen's heart. A cruel and wild laughter rolled violently in his throat. All the sober people's eyes were already lifeless. Tears rolled down their cheeks. Unable to help, they could only choose to close their eyes to avoid the pain. Suddenly, amidst the screams and angry shouts, a violent explosion rang out. Everyone who had closed their eyes felt a kind of domineering aura of a dragon hidden in the abyss rapidly spread throughout the world. When everyone opened their eyes, Long Wen and Long Shan had already retreated to 100 meters away. The scene in front of them made everyone's eyes twitch fiercely. Their heartbeats also began to accelerate. In the whistling golden storm, an old man supported Liu Can and slowly put him down. Everyone's gaze was as if they had been electrocuted. The entire place was filled with shock. In the next second, everyone felt a kind of vast and mighty aura of a golden dragon. The light in their eyes fluctuated again. Everyone who was in disbelief immediately screamed and shouted. They were so excited that tears flowed down their faces. They pursed their lips tightly and nodded continuously. "Grandpa Guardian, you're finally here." Liu Can lay on the ground. His breathing was weak, and an innocent smile appeared on his face. The person who came intimately caressed Liu Can's face. His deep eyes were like two endless abysses as he spoke gently. "Sleep for a while first. Leave the rest to Grandpa." After he finished speaking, the person lowered his hands. A storm of aura that seemed to cross the heavens and the earth erupted from his body. The souls present could not help but tremble. Turning around, the person's eyes secretly surged with a cold light. After he slowly swept his gaze across the miserable scene, the soles of his feet heavily stepped on the shattered ground. Dust rose along with the air wave as he spoke sternly. "Zhong Yunkong is here. Who dares to bully Upper Dragon?" Long Wen and Long Shan's eyes shrank at the same time. They could not contain their excitement as they spoke in strange voices. "Zhong Yunkong, you're finally willing to come out." Zhong Yunkong's figure changed, and he instantly rushed to Elder Yu's side. After his strength dissipated, Elder Yu's body went limp. However, his eyes were still filled with shock and excitement. "Lord Guardian, I forgot my voice. I never thought that I would be able to see you again." Smiling faintly, Zhong Yunkong patted Elder Yu's shoulder heavily and sighed with a hint of bitterness. "I forgot to speak, I'm late." Elder Yu hurriedly shook his head, his hands trembling uncontrollably as he gripped his golden longsword. His shoulders trembled slightly as large droplets of tears streamed down his face. "Forget your voice. Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. The Upper Dragon Village didn't disgrace you." As he spoke, he was about to kneel down in front of Zhong Yunkong. Zhong Yunkong hurriedly helped Old Man Yu to his feet. A mysterious palm seal appeared in his hand, and the majestic aura of the golden dragon surged into Yu Wangxing's heavenly origin meridian. "You've exceeded the limit of the Golden Dragon Guardian Array's energy. Don't speak for now. Breathe properly. Leave Shanglong Village to me." Elder Yu solemnly nodded his head. The gaze he used to look at Zhong Yunkong seemed to contain a piercing electric light. Standing up, Zhong Yunkong faced Long Wen and Long Shan, and his entire body burst out with a vast dragon aura that was as vast as the universe. Today, both of you will die. Zhong Yunkang's gaze fell on the two of them. The fierce pressure caused their hearts to tremble. Fifth level of the origin domain stage. Long Wen's gaze slightly raised, and a trace of doubt flashed across his eyes. Rumor had it that Zhong Yunkang's strength had already reached the half-step origin sky stage 100 years ago. How could he only be at the fifth level of the origin domain stage? After prying into Zhong Yunkang's strength, even though his momentum was shocking, Long Shan's gaze relaxed without leaving a trace. He wiped away the cold sweat in his heart and laughed dryly. Zhong Yunkang, with your current strength, do you think we'll still be afraid of you? If you're sensible, you'd better obediently return with us to see Lord Dragon God. Changing the topic, the corners of Zhong Yunkang's mouth revealed a cold and gloomy expression. He shot his gaze towards the village chief's stone house, and an even more shocking golden dragon aura rushed into heaven and earth. Immediately, a large expanse of spatial divine chains interweaved above his head, and the endless golden dragon energy of the villagers was mobilized as if it was being pulled. What? Long Wen and Long Shan were stunned, as if they had seen the most inconceivable thing. They muttered in a low voice, "How can it be so majestic? Could there be other golden dragon bloodlines here?" Even Elder Yu, Lu Kan, and the sober villagers were shocked by the golden dragon light that pierced through the heavens. They couldn't help but hold their breaths as they stared at the top of the stone house with wide eyes. This was the true golden dragon bloodline, and it was definitely the suppression of the bloodline. Looking at the D versions Chapter C section V0R, Roar, the aura gradually turned into a blazing golden dragon phantom, which was completely revealed and suffused with light. Then, it let out a roar that pierced through the clouds and the sky, shocking the vast sky. When the roar fell, the dazzling golden light converged into two figures. Zhong Yunkang's body trembled as he flew towards the light shadow. "Recovered." The light shadow's hearty and clear voice slowly sounded. The golden light shadow gradually dissipated, and everyone was stunned when they saw who it was. The newcomers were none other than Yi Su and Lu Qi, who had just recovered from a serious illness. Subordinate Zhong Yunkang greets Lord Commander. Zhong Yunkang bowed respectfully to Su Yi, who was shrouded in divine radiance. What? The guardian deity was so respectful to Yi Su? Didn't Yi Su accept the guardian deity's recognition? Why was the guardian deity so polite to him? And the guardian deity even called Yi Su Lord Commander? What the hell was going on? Countless thoughts flew through the minds of Elder Yu and Lu Kan. Everyone present felt the majestic aura of Su Yi, and their souls began to tremble uncontrollably. As the light shadow completely disappeared, Su Yi's dark eyes flashed with a faint coldness, and he glanced at Zhong Yunkang and said, "Are they from the Long family?" Zhong Yunkang nodded solemnly, and his face was ashen. A powerful momentum surged out, and he said coldly, "We almost didn't make it in time, and almost caused a disaster. Please forgive us, Commander." Elder Yu, Ken. As soon as Lu Qi came out of the stone house, he saw the change in Shanglong village. He staggered to Elder Yu and Lu Kan, crying bitterly and heartbroken. "Is he really cured?" Elder Yu was still in a daze, and his eyes were full of boiling heat. Lu Qi tightly pursed his lips and nodded with tears. He turned back and looked at Su Yi gratefully. His eyes gradually became sore, and he lowered his voice and said, "Yi Su has the real blood of the Golden Dragon. It's the opportunity of Shanglong. Shanglong will prosper." "What?" Lu Kan exclaimed. Judging from Zhong Yunkang's attitude towards Su Yi, the two immediately understood everything. Elder Yu and Lu Kan, who were slowly retreating, trembled, and were shocked and frightened beyond words. The villagers present stared at Su Yi as if they were looking at a god, and gradually felt relieved. They knew that this time, Shanglong would be safe. Chapter 2082. On the other hand, Long One, Long Shan, and even Zhong Yunkang treated the mysterious Su Yi with great respect, not daring to overstep their boundaries. Their hearts gradually sank. Not to mention that Zhong Yunkang used to be a half-step Yuan Tian stage super expert. Even a top-notch Yuan domain stage expert would never bow down to a Yuan Emperor stage expert. Immediately after, this mysterious youth of unknown origin emitted a strange aura, causing the hearts of the two Long family experts to thump. Their hearts also rose to their throats. The air was filled with a strong, dangerous aura. The four of them looked at each other. With a faint smile, Su Yi's aura stabilized. His gaze was as calm as water, and the golden dragon radiance spreading out from his body rippled. It was much more vigorous than the two Long family experts. Ignoring the gazes of the two Long family elders, Su Yi flashed to Elder Yu's side with his back facing Long One and Long Shan. He poured a small portion of the spirit liquid into Elder Yu's mouth. Hand seals formed in his sleeves at lightning speed as he secretly activated the primordial dragon's breath, causing the majestic spirit liquid energy to rapidly soften. The entire process took only 5 breaths of time. Immediately, the medicinal fragrance permeated his shattered meridians. Elder Yu immediately felt a vigorous and nourishing warm current rapidly combining with the golden dragon aura in his body. His shattered and bloody body gradually glowed, and the turbid aura was also slowly expelled along with the rippling medicinal fragrance. Elder Yu raised his old eyes, and his eyes were filled with emotion. He was unable to suppress the breathing and excitement in his heart as he sized up this youth, whose temperament had completely changed. All the villagers' gazes were focused on this handsome and outstanding youth. Y+J. Version Z. First round I0 after Elder Yu began to recover, Su Yi chuckled and stood up. His green robe fluttered behind him, and his aura surged endlessly. Wind and thunder rumbled, and the surrounding air seemed to have frozen. Coldly glancing at Long One and Long Shan, Su Yi's great void divine sea rumbled endlessly, and the violently expanding golden dragon origin chi continuously surged out from his palms. As he narrowed his eyes, he noticed that one of them was a 4th-level Origin Domain Stage expert, while the other was a 5th-level Origin Domain Stage expert. He calculated in his heart. If they really fought, it would be difficult for him and Zhong Yunkang to deal with them alone. However, if they went all out, it wouldn't be difficult. On the contrary, in the face of such a boundless golden dragon aura, Long One and Long Shan's soul energies were in different degrees of disorder. The same thought flashed through their minds. If they could not finish off this strange young man quickly, the Dragon Ascension expedition would be in chaos. After that, they looked at each other. Long One and Long Shan's faces were ashen as they calmly suppressed the shock in their hearts. Long Shan's eyes were sinister. He took a step forward and said, "Brat, who are you? Why does he have the golden dragon bloodline?" The gloomy and cold words instantly broke the silence. Su Yi's undisciplined gaze immediately shot out a trace of coldness. At this time, Long Yu's words echoed in his mind. Su Yi smiled and said, "The dead have no right to know my name." "Say that again?" Long Shan didn't want the person in front of him to be so arrogant and aloof. His eyes instantly turned cold as he asked again. Su Yi shook his head and turned his head to spy on Zhong Yunkang's cultivation. He said in an extremely calm voice, "You have only recovered less than a quarter of your cultivation, but it is enough to deal with him. You choose first." Zhong Yunkang accepted the order and raised his eyebrows. He looked at Ci Mei and a cold light shot out from his eyes. A golden staff appeared in his hand. "My lord, I choose that 5th stage Yuan domain stage guy." After saying that, golden lines shot out from Zhong Yunkang's eyes. A roaring golden dragon spread out from the top of the golden staff. In an instant, the space in front of him expanded. "Okay, leave that to me." Su Yi slowly nodded and said at the same time. He didn't put Long One and Long Shan in his eyes at all. Boom. The scarlet blood demon killing god sword appeared in Su Yi's hand in an instant. A surge of killing intent surged out. Suddenly, an azure-robed figure and an old figure flashed in the air and slashed at Long One like ghosts. Split up. Long One and Long Shan didn't have time to speak. They didn't expect Su Yi and Zhong Yunkang to take the initiative to attack. Without hesitation, the two of them flew towards the east and west. Bang! Bang! Boom! The upper dragon square, which was not wide, was occupied by 4 experts in an instant. At this moment, Zhong Yunkang and Long Shan were fighting in the west. Clang! Clang! Golden spears clashed. Between loud roars, the violent and ferocious aura of the golden dragon soared into the sky. 2 astonishing auras entangled with each other. Valiant figures continuously clashed in the air, and then quickly separated. Zhong Yunkang and Long Shan continuously exchanged blows in the air. In an instant, the sky was filled with dark clouds. Thunderclouds rolled and the split space was filled with gorgeous and fierce golden clouds. Looking from afar, the 2 powerful thunderbolts in the golden clouds were more like 2 fierce golden dragons fighting for their lives. Even with the golden dragon aura protecting their bodies, the villagers couldn't help but feel a heavy suffocating feeling spread over their bodies. The murderous intent within the blurry space rippled. It was thick and viscous like a tidal wave, causing the injured villagers to turn even paler in fear. Was this the attack of an Origin Domain Realm expert? Everyone was dumbfounded. Elder Yu and Liu Ken had already let go of the previous failure, but they were still worried about Su Yi who had rushed over. Yellow dust rose everywhere. The golden aura light pillar from the west swept over, enveloping Su Yi and Long One in the east. The dust in the air began to fall, and everything began to become clear. Long One could only see a pair of serene, deep eyes behind the dust. The young man in front of him was calm and indifferent. His entire body emitted a kind of indifference and ruthlessness towards life. More accurately, it was absolute contempt towards himself. Su Yi stood upright, his black hair blowing behind him. His entire body emitted a heaven-defying aura of an expert. Long One was incomparably clear. The energy aura around Su Yi was far from what an ordinary Origin Emperor could compare to. In front of such a strong opponent, Long Wen's heart trembled, and his tyrannical soul weakened for no reason. For the first time, shock appeared in his long and narrow eyes. He secretly raised the energy under his feet, ready to strike. At the same time, Su Yi's green-robed figure swayed, completely blocking Long Wen's path of attack. The vast golden dragon aura didn't leave any blind spots for Long One. He looked at Long One with an evil smile, like catching a turtle in a jar. The atmosphere was strange. An Origin Emperor expert had actually blocked the path of an Origin Domain Realm expert. Long Wen's eyes flickered with coldness as he looked at the young man in front of him. He felt that there was something familiar about this pair of eyes. Chapter 2083. Even if he didn't know Su Yi's background, Long One didn't dare to be careless because of the inexplicable throbbing in his heart. Su Yi looked at Long One indifferently and sneered without saying a word. In his mind, he was thinking about what the Long family had done in the past few years. Gradually, the killing intent in his eyes was getting heavier and heavier. The Long family chased the Upper Dragon Village for 100 years, and it was the same for the Duanmu Qin Tian. It was even more so for the Tian Yao school. Must one step on the bones of all the innocent people to reach the peak of martial arts? Do they hate people of the same bloodline so much? Unconsciously, Su Yi's hands that were holding the blood demon killing god sword began to tremble, and the area between his thumb and index finger turned from red to white because of the huge force. The abnormally terrifying golden thunder roared out and surrounded Su Yi's body like a python. Chi La. Suddenly, the fierce energy around Su Yi's body caused the space in front of him to crack inch by inch, and a series of terrifying sonic booms sounded. The more you want it, the more you can't get it. Su-yi lowered his head, and the corner of his mouth raised slightly as he sneered. Long Wen's eyes fiercely twitched. The sudden surge of blood chi from the young man in front of him was extremely unusual, and his cultivation skyrocketed, as if there was a blood feud between them. Long Wen was unconsciously stunned in place. What? Long Wen asked again. He was stunned. Tell that old bastard Draconis that one day I will trample on his broken palace. Not only will I cripple his son, but I will also make him atone for his sins. Su-yi said coldly from between his teeth. Bang! Su-yi, whose body was covered with golden dragon patterns, suddenly gathered an energy vortex under his feet. The speed of his movement was even more like a wild dragon coming out of the sea, and he violently smashed down on Long Wen's head. Look at section PU of B main chapter 0 inch, but unfortunately, you can't go back. Killing sword art. Su-yi, who had leaped high into the air, was like a golden dragon soaring into the sky. The enormous wave of God-killing sword instantly covered the entire sky, and an incomparably fierce golden dragon, along with the fierce sword intent, smashed towards Long Wen's body. Su-yi's sudden increase in speed far exceeded Long Wen's imagination. His pupils shrank, and without thinking, Long Wen rearranged the golden dragon shield in front of him. Within a few breaths of time, Su-yi and Long Wen's ferocious attacks shattered a large area of space in front of them. So powerful! Elder Yu and the other villagers' eyes were filled with shock. Lu Kan and Elder Yu glanced at each other, their throats moving rapidly as chills ran down their spines due to the murderous atmosphere in front of them. So he's so strong. Lu Kan swallowed a mouthful of saliva as he exclaimed in surprise. Thinking back to how he had made things difficult for Su-yi just now, Isu was still willing to protect the villagers of Shanglong. Lu Kan's face twitched and blushed, but soon, the shame in his eyes turned into worship and respect for the strong. At the same time, Lu Qi, who was healing Nyo Debeo, looked back at the sky, his half-squatting body trembling in horror, and said proudly, as if he was showing off to Elder Yu. Village Chief, Kenner, I've said that he is the real guardian of Shanglong Village. He is the real opportunity of our Shanglong Village. If Lu Qi had brought Su-yi back to the village, and said this before, the villagers would have thought that he was being rebellious or even talking nonsense. But in this situation, no one doubted Lu Qi's words. This young man, who was only 25 or 26 years old, had saved Shanglong Village from danger several times. If this was not an opportunity, what else could it be? At such a young age, he could fight with Long Wen like this. The aura of the golden dragon on his body was even more domineering and astonishing, and the constantly rising aura of his cultivation constantly refreshed everyone's worldview. Suddenly, all the fiery eyes gathered on Su-yi again, and in the stone house, the tender voices of several children could be heard. Brother Isu, you can do it! Brother Isu, you are my big hero! In the void, a terrifying energy spun rapidly, and the golden dragon burst out from the tip of the sword, wrapped in a monstrous momentum, smashed into the large shield in front of Long Wen. Bang! A violent shock wave rolled wildly, and a huge energy wave exploded in front of the two people. Su-yi, who was standing tall, held the giant sword with both hands, and used his physical body to resist the terrifying energy shock wave. Su-yi hit the golden shield lightly, and the veins on his whole body suddenly bulged. The huge blood demon killing god sword also shot out dazzling golden sparks because of the violent impact. What a strong physical body! Long Wen, who was behind the shield, took 3 steps back, and looked at Su-yi, who was half a body taller than him, under the huge pressure. After being refined by the ancient dragon's breath, Su-yi's mixed yuan demon body was not comparable to the ordinary golden dragon's flesh and blood. Cut down! Break! Su-yi shouted, and all the energy in his body poured into the golden shield. Long Wen, who was firmly pressed down below, realized that Su-yi could not cut through the golden shield, but did not let go. Instead, he tried to cut through his golden shield. Immediately, a sharp and sinister smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Inside the dusky space, Long One let out a deep shout and transferred his aura to the golden shield once again. Not good. Be careful, Lord Yi-Su. Below, Elder Yu realized that this was the golden dragon break that Long One had used against him just now. The golden dragon on the golden shield could devour energy, and reflect all the energy from the impact, causing the opponent to be caught off guard and suffer serious injuries. Roar. Sure enough, as soon as his voice fell, the fierce dragon head on the golden shield once again broke free from the body, and the five-fingered golden claw directly blasted out, violently grabbing towards Su-yi's blood demon-killing god sword. Go to hell. Let's see how you block it. Long One laughed strangely. At this point, he was certain that victory was in his hands. Seeing the giant golden dragon crawling up the giant sword, roaring crazily and absorbing the energy in the sword, the people below gasped, and their eyes turned serious. Is this all the Long family's people have? Su-yi was not in a hurry. His eyes were cold as he flipped his wrist. Raising his eyebrows, Su-yi fully activated the strength of a third-level origin ancestor. Suddenly, a giant blood-red sword ray appeared out of thin air, tearing the golden dragon apart. Roar. A shrill beast roar resounded through the sky, and the demonic beasts in the distant forest groveled in response, their beast souls trembling. What? Long One was shocked. As the golden dragon roared, the golden shield and golden dragon were pushed back by the violent sword wave, and directly flew back to the golden shield. The golden dragon returned to the golden shield, and the dazzling golden light also disappeared. An incomparably domineering soul pressure was transmitted to Long Wen's mind, and a heart-wrenching pain spread throughout his body. Bang! The golden dragon aura in Su-yi's heart quickly circulated, and he lifted the heavy sword. The sword edge flew out of Su-yi's hand again, and the huge power was like a target that was firmly inserted into Long Wen's golden shield. Chapter 2084. What? My essence chi. Long Wen would never have thought that his essence chi would be absorbed back by Su-yi when he wanted to absorb Su-yi's energy. In the sky, no matter how much Long Wen tried to withdraw, he could still feel the terrifying golden dragon aura lingering on his body. Helpless, Long Wen glared at Su-yi and clenched his teeth to forcefully break off the essence chi attack. PFFF. In midair, Long Wen spat out a mouthful of blood after breaking off the essence chi. The repercussions of hastily withdrawing the essence chi were severe internal injuries. After dodging Su-yi's soul spirit lock in a hurry, Long Wen didn't stop running and tried to occupy the other side. Su-yi was quick to react and wouldn't give Long Wen such a chance. Suddenly, he sped up and locked onto Long Wen's position like a phantom. In the next second, Su-yi turned the tip of his sword and burst out with a huge thunderbolt again. The golden dragon light pierced through the sky and bombarded Long Wen, who was running away, with a destructive dragon aura. The ferocious golden light cut across the sky, and the majestic aura spread across the sky. In an instant, there was a gust of wind and golden light. Long Wen, who was running away, finally realized that Su-yi's cultivation wasn't at the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm. He was basically at the 3rd level of the Origin Ancestor realm. When the pursuing light got close to Long Wen's back, a cold wind blew past Long Wen's ears. Long Wen suddenly smelled the aura of death. "Let me help you." A low muffled sound came from the west. It was Long Shan, who had escaped from Zhong Yunkang's hands, running over. Boom. In a split second, Long Shan saw that the situation wasn't right. He quickly changed his hand seals and pushed his palm force out without hesitation. The golden light pillar collided with Su-yi's pursuing light pillar. Clang! The huge impact forced Su-yi and Long Wen, who were running over, to retreat in 2 different directions. Long Wen and Su Yi spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time because of Long Shan's sinister move. The former was directly sent flying several feet away, and was caught by Long Shan, who was rushing over. Bang! Standing still, Long Wen's aura had already withered a little, and it was difficult for him to get rid of the lingering fear in his heart. However, he didn't dare to relax. His eyes flashed as he stared at the distant Su Yi. This fellow is actually at the 3rd level of the Origin Ancestor stage. The most troublesome thing is that he can suppress my golden dragon aura. Long Wen spat out the blood in his mouth as shock filled his eyes. When he heard this, Long Shan, whose eyes were half squinted, also nodded, and his gaze once again glanced towards Su Yi in the distance, seeming to be lost in thought. His golden dragon bloodline is extremely pure, comparable to that of the dragon god. If we can't bring him back to the Dragon Palace today, we can't let him live. Deal with him with all your might. On the other side, Su Yi seized the opportunity and quickly poured a small bottle of spirit liquid into his mouth. Now that his Origin Ancestor stage strength had been completely exposed, what awaited him in the next moment was an all-out slaughter. As he secretly checked his injuries, Su Yi felt even colder towards the Long family in his heart. He muttered to himself, as expected, it's the Long family. They said they were helping Long Wen. If I hadn't dodged that move just now and they killed me, Long Wen definitely wouldn't have survived. Commander, these 2 people definitely can't be allowed to return to the Long family. Zhong Yunkang, who had the experience of killing a member of the Long family once, had a cold gaze. It was very obvious that the 2 people from the Long family had already shifted their target to Su Yi at this moment. Even if their strength was slightly inferior now, they understood the principle of letting the tiger return to the mountain. Long Shan's eyes were like a poisonous snake's as he moved his feet lightly, probing for a route to attack Su Yi as he said coldly, "Kid, is it worth it to throw away your life for these ants below?" Ignoring Long Shan's probing, Su Yi took a deep breath and secretly activated the Origin Supreme technique. QZ at Luoyuk Yizheng version square root, or else he hashtag all C is, Steel KJ version Y0. The divine mystic meridians in his body had expanded greatly, and under the nourishment of the golden dragon chi, the energy of the divine mystic meridians quickly smoothed out the disordered meridians in his body. When the surging chi of vitality once again surged into the great void spirit sea, Su Yi finally heaved a sigh of relief. He raised his eyebrows and said, "As long as it's about the Long family, you must stop it even if it costs your life. Then you can go and die." Long Shan and Long Wen retreated backwards, and a golden gale instantly surrounded their bodies. Boom! The 2 of them stood one in front and one behind. Their strange positions caused their auras to soar. Zhong Yunkang sucked in a breath of cold air and reminded Su Yi in a low voice, "It's the Long family's joint attack." Looking at the strange posture of the 2 people in the distance, Zhong Yunkang gasped and reminded Su Yi in a low voice. Then, Zhong Yunkang stepped on his profound handle and said seriously, "It looks like we have no choice but to use the defensive formation. Commander, quickly follow me at the location of the 2 dragons' eyes." In the next moment, Zhong Yunkang's figure disappeared. Under the gaze of Long Wen and Long Shan, Su Yi and Zhong Yunkang returned to where Elder Yu and Lu Kan were at previously. However, there were no dozens of villagers behind them to protect the formation. The location of the dragon's eyes was connected to the defensive formation. As soon as Su Yi stood still, the golden dragon aura around Su Yi's body surged out. His heart slightly moved. Su Yi raised his eyes and found that the defensive formation above his head that was like a big bowl cover was continuously shrinking. Zhong Yunkang's face was ashen, and the long staff in his hand was constantly waving, as if he was activating the formation. In a split second, rays of golden light converged from the horizon, and the majestic golden light pillar fell between Su Yi and Zhong Yunkang like a storm. How could Long Wen and Long Shan give Zhong Yunkang the chance to set up the formation? They angrily pushed their palms forward and back, and the golden dragon aura roared out like the sun, madly attacking Su Yi and Zhong Yunkang. Lord Protector, Lord Yi Su, be careful. The villagers below looked at the two sides in horror, and the fierce soul energy that filled the air made everyone afraid. Rumble! High up in the sky, a thunderous sound resounded out of nowhere. The turbulent upper dragon village trembled and tore apart once again, and the vast golden dragon aura directly razed the surrounding mountains and rocks to the ground. Bang bang! After knowing Zhong Yunkang's thoughts, Su Yi no longer hesitated, and the blood demon killing god sword was held horizontally in front of his chest. Under the earth-shattering golden might, Su Yi gradually calmed down, and a rich golden light energy completely erupted from Su Yi's body. Roar! The three golden dragon souls in his mind spun rapidly, releasing a shocking dragon aura with all their might, and the blood in his body turned from red to pure gold. Looking from afar, Su Yi's entire body was shrouded in golden light, and he looked like a god of war. Within the golden light, fierce golden dragon energy flew out, causing everyone, including the villagers, Zhong Yunkang, and even Long Wen and Long Shan, to tremble in fear. How can there be such a strong golden dragon energy? It's much stronger than the Lord Protector. Under the fierce aura, the villagers looked at each other, and their bodies and blood began to tremble uncontrollably, and a feeling that came from the bottom of their hearts spread throughout their bodies. This was a kind of heartbeat and also a kind of heartfelt submission. Chapter 2085. Looking at the scene before them, Long Wen and Long Shan's hearts were already trembling non-stop. The fierce and domineering aura stunned them for a few seconds before their killing intent surged. The Brahma Dragon's celestial palace would never allow this kind of bloodline suppression. Even if Su Yi was only at the origin ancestor realm, they would never allow such a person to exist. Suppressing the fear and shock in their hearts, Long Wen and Long Shan shouted loudly, and their auras became even more violent. A vast and surging golden dragon phantom appeared between them. Roar! The golden dragon was ferocious, and its aura was vigorous. The golden dragon phantom with its fangs and claws occupied the entire sky in front of them. The void started to blur, and the surrounding space started to tremble non-stop. Light flickered and the golden dragon roared. Its entire body was glistening with golden light as it spat out bloody light, aiming at Su Yi and Zhong Yunkang. In the next second, the eyes of Long Wen and Long Shan, who had just been excited, started to flicker completely. Extreme trembling surged in their hearts. The two of them were like wooden chickens as they stared blankly at the sky. Roar! Amidst the accumulated dark clouds, a deafening roar pierced through the clouds and cracked rocks. Amidst the flickering light, the aura of the entire upper dragon village continued to rise. A real golden dragon roared as it broke through the clouds and stretched across the void. Everyone present looked at the golden dragon soaring in the sky. Its abdomen was engraved with 5-clawed auspicious clouds, and its entire body was covered in divine light. The lifelike dragon pattern in the sky was dazzling and resplendent, opening and closing without end. Behind it was a vast expanse of stars that seemed to ripple between the heavens. Its aura was domineering and powerful, and it seemed like it could destroy all life in the world at any time. The golden dragon's huge eyes opened and closed, overlooking the entire land. Light mist puffed out from its volcano-like nostrils, and the scorching aura it emitted quickly covered the entire upper dragon village. Chi! The scorching aura emitted from the dragon's body scalded the skin of every villager present. Shock and astonishment flashed across the faces of every villager present. Creak! Very quickly, the surrounding trees were shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, they were burned to ashes by the high temperature. Brilliant flames illuminated the dusky land. countless cracks appeared on the incomparably hard rocks, and the surroundings were like a fiery purgatory. Above his head, the golden dragon circled in the sky, its flapping scales reflecting a terrifying killing intent. Under the cover of its huge body, everyone seemed as small as a drop in the ocean. Unconsciously, the villagers present ignored the pain on their bodies and felt an illusion of worship in their hearts. One by one, they fell to their knees and prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to raise their heads. This was a real dragon, a supreme dragon that had crossed over from the ancient times. At this moment, the primordial golden dragon that appeared in the sky was the totem in the hearts of the upper dragon village. No one would have thought that a true golden dragon would descend upon the world and suppress the evil creatures with an unstoppable momentum. Golden dragon! It's my clan's golden dragon! Elder Yu was extremely agitated. His chest was like a raging sea as he prostrated himself on the ground with both hands, continuously praying to the heavens. Immediately after, the villagers present muttered to themselves, and they were extremely excited as they knelt down and bowed with reverence in their eyes. This was the first time he had seen a golden dragon in his life. One could imagine how excited he was. This was an unprecedented, fortuitous encounter. The villagers of Upper Dragon Village would probably never see such a scene again in their lifetime. No one would have thought that the young man in front of them could summon such a huge 5-clawed golden dragon. Oh my God! This is an opportunity for my Upper Dragon Village. My Upper Dragon Village is going to be revived. Lu Qi grabbed Liu Can's shoulder tightly with tears in his eyes. He was already speaking without thinking, and he was ecstatic. It's a real dragon. It's a golden dragon. Zhong Yunkang, who was close by, had also completely lost his mind. The boiling temperature in the depths of his blood made him extremely sure that everything in front of him was real. Raising their heads, every villager looked at Long Wen and Long Shan with cold eyes, completely without the fear from before. Then, anger and killing intent surged up, and the villagers were like mad lion beasts. High in the sky, Long Wen and Long Shan, who had summoned the huge golden dragon, tried their best to calm the complicated shock in their hearts. Their eyes flashed with horror, and their bodies trembled because of the golden dragon. Long Wen murmured, "Impossible! Only the dragon god can summon the golden dragon true body. How is it possible for him?" Standing in place, the killing intent in their hearts was gradually replaced by shock and fear. It was as if their bodies were fixed and they forgot to move. They were as stiff as stone statues, and could only watch as this extremely huge and domineering golden dragon spewed destructive flames in the sky. Even if it spat out destructive flames, it would be difficult for it to resist. It was as if he had traveled through the ancient times. Amidst the dense golden flames, Su Yi's entire body was suffused with red. The flames seemed to be drawn from Su Yi's body, leaving behind a strange red light from his meridians to his pores. Qi. His skin, which was as hard as iron, began to crack along with the surging waves of fire, as if a stone was withering. At this moment, on top of the stone house, a golden-haired figure staggered, as if swaying in the wind. Her beautiful figure floated, looking at the terrifying golden dragon of destruction in the sky, her eyes filled with shock. Under such circumstances, everyone's attention was on the golden dragon and the young man. As the flame-like fragments on Su Yi's body fell down, Su Yi finally let out a painful scream from the depths of his throat. Not good. The commander's cultivation can't withstand the golden dragon's pressure. Zhong Yunkang came back to his senses and immediately turned pale with fright. His gaze also turned solemn. One had to know that the primordial golden dragon's aura was extremely tyrannical, and its requirements for one's bloodline and muscles were monstrous. It was already a miracle that Su Yi could summon the golden dragon's true body with his origin ancestor strength and extremely high golden dragon talent. It was too difficult for him to command the golden dragon in battle. Even back then, it was impossible for him to command the golden dragon with the strength of a half-step Yuan Tian. Immediately, everyone's hearts beat wildly again, and all the pores on their bodies began to tremble. Nervous emotions fell on the young man in the sky. Ha! Enveloped by the flames, Sui felt his internal organs, bones, muscles, limbs, and bones begin to feel a burning sensation. The remnants of the spiritual liquid that he had swallowed earlier also rapidly evaporated under such extreme heat. Roar! Within the spirit sea, the golden dragon's shadow moved rapidly along the mysterious ball of light like a phantom, and could break out of his body at any time. Soon, Suyi's consciousness began to blur. Sui, who was wrapped in the devouring flames, kept shouting in his heart, "Move! Get moving!" Chapter 2086. Kid, it's already not easy for you to summon this golden dragon and still be able to bear it. The iron soulfish's heavy voice came from his heart. Faced with such a situation, the iron soulfish also felt the danger. I don't believe it. If I can summon it, then I can move. Sui gritted his teeth and endured the burning pain on his skin and the tearing sensation in his mind as he shouted. Roar! Several blood veins on his body burst open again. The golden dragon in the sky moved in response, and the roaring flames followed Suyi's consciousness to where Long One and Long Shan were. Long One, go. This guy is still far from being able to control it as he pleases. We'll end it in one go. Long Shan narrowed his eyes and took in Suyi's abnormal state. He immediately made a prompt decision and shouted loudly. Long One, who had regained his senses, also immediately realized that something was wrong. He stomped his feet in the air, and his dark purple robe fluttered again. The cold and fierce light in his eyes reappeared, and Long One shouted, "So you're just a dabbler. Then go." Boom! The golden dragon behind the two instantly rippled with wind and thunder, and bombarded Suyi's location. Scarlet light flickered, and dozens of golden streaks of light shot out from the ferocious golden dragon. Like sharp arrows, they immediately froze the space around Suyi's body. The thickest golden dragon beam followed, and it was aimed squarely at Suyi's heart. Bang! Bang! Move! Sui, who was in a daze, shook his head in the flames. He waved his arms angrily, and an astonishing explosive force shattered the space in front of him. In the next moment, a terrifyingly hot flame burst out from the golden dragon's body, and the violent and destructive aura shattered the dozens of light arrows one by one. Bang, bang, bang! The continuous shock waves were accompanied by scorching wind waves, and all the spirit herbs and fruits within a radius of dozens of miles were turned to ashes. The violent force was like a sharp knife, and it carved a shocking trench in the mountains of Yun region. The mountains shook and the ground cracked. Under the fierce killing aura, all the villagers huddled together. Their delicate souls were in great pain because of the violent shockwave. The aura of the golden dragon surged back and forth in the sky, shattering and piling up the clouds in the sky. They didn't know where to look with their dull eyes. The mountain was filled with flying dust, and the cracked ground made everyone's heart tremble hundreds of times. Then, he looked at the young man on the horizon in astonishment. Zhong Yunkang flashed to Suyi's side and sensed that Suyi's golden dragon aura was continuously decreasing. "Commander, I'll help you." Zhong Yunkang gritted his teeth, took a deep breath, and pushed his palms against Suyi's back. All of a sudden, the flames around Suyi's body surged like a raging storm, and the ferocious golden dragon energy surged through the air once again. Puchi! Zhong Yunkang, who had forcefully infused the golden dragon aura into his body, immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His deathly pale face revealed an unswerving determination. After regaining some consciousness, Sui opened his eyes, which were filled with a mixture of blood and red light. He sensed that Zhong Yunkang's aura was very weak. "I swear to protect the Shanglong. take good care of them." Zhong Yunkang laughed bitterly. He glanced at the fiercest golden dragon that was about to shoot out from the corner of his eye. After saying that, Zhong Yunkang forcefully twisted his body in the air and used his skinny body to shield Su Yi. At that moment, an electric current flashed through Su Yi's mind, instantly suppressing the clamorous golden dragon aura. "Child, promise your grandmother that you will take good care of the people of Ling Ancient Village and protect the bloodline of Tian Yao School." Grandmother Shangguan's words before her tragic death suddenly appeared in front of him. Just like what Zhong Yunkang had said, this was their home. This was the spiritual territory that they relied on to survive. Su Yi's crimson eyes immediately dimmed. Instead, they were replaced by a murderous aura. The extreme stench in his blood was overwhelming. "This time, even if I die, I will protect the people that I want to protect." Bang! "I'll go to your Long family. I'll peel your bones and pull out your tendons. Those who bully my Shanglong, I'll send you to hell." Su Yi shouted loudly. The mysterious light in his mind suddenly poured out a vast and boundless aura. The energy contained seemed to have transcended the heavens and the earth. Suddenly, the roaring golden dragon aura responded for no reason. Clang! With that, Su Yi grabbed Zhong Yunkang's waist and threw him down. He rushed in the direction of the light beam like lightning. At the same time, the huge golden dragon body stretched out behind him. He waved his claws from afar. The terrifying golden dragon aura seemed to have descended from the ninth heaven. It directly grabbed the light beam that was flying toward him and shot it toward Long One, and Long shone like a miracle. Golden light shone. The huge light beam in the sky suddenly changed direction and blasted toward the powerhouses of the Long family. The momentum was incomparably fast. The space along the way suddenly collapsed inch by inch, and it was difficult to recover. What? Looking at the rapid change in the situation, Long One and Long Shan were shocked at the same time. The light beam that suddenly changed direction was no small matter. Boom! The two of them shouted and activated the golden dragon aura at the same time. Long One was in front and Long Shan was behind. Their hand seals were directly activated, turning the golden dragon phantom behind them into a huge golden dragon barrier in front of them. Most recent chapter Upper B. 0 kin the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the huge turning light beam slashed out a huge pitch-black void along the way, and then fiercely landed on the golden barrier. Buzz! The spatial barrier suddenly caved in, as if a huge needle had fallen on a balloon. The ripples in the air instantly twisted together. At the moment of impact, an overwhelming amount of technical light poured down on the barrier. Immediately after, Long One and Long Shan both felt a gravity that seemed like the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart along their arms. Bam! The two of them widened their eyes. This was definitely not a power that Su Yi could possess. Immediately, they spat out a mouthful of blood on the barrier. In less than a breath of time, the golden barrier instantly disintegrated under the explosion of the light beam. It violently exploded on the spot, and at the same time, the golden light in the air was blown into pieces and dissipated. Boom! In the wind and thunder all over the sky, the terrifying golden dragon energy spread out like a halo, filling the sky above the Shanglong village. Suddenly, a huge void black hole appeared in the sky. The explosive energy ripples wildly rippled and collapsed on Su Yi and the two elders of the Long family. In the face of such a horrible scene, the villagers of Shanglong village were already dumbfounded. Zhong Yunkang, who was left behind by Su Yi, was caught by Elder Yu and Lu Qi. Under the aftermath of the energy, Lu Qi and Elder Yu had to protect the villagers as much as possible. They did not dare to be careless. Looking at the terrifying energy sweeping across the sky, everyone was stunned. Chapter 2087. Long Shan, who was behind Long One, was also heavily injured by the shockwave. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and was forced to retreat. His eyes were filled with dispirited shock. Staring at Su-yi, who was wrapped in flames, Long Shan's heart was still palpitating. If Longwen had not blocked in front of him, 2 people would have died. Forever free. Look at little I say 0 QQ. Su-yi's upright body was trembling rapidly. The blood in his body was boiling like magma. Wrapped in the fiery energy aura, Su-yi pushed his hands forward again and stomped his feet on the ground. Suddenly, a destructive and vast golden dragon aura shot out again. At this moment, Su-yi had already lost consciousness. There was only one thought in his mind. Kill everyone from the Long family. A low and hoarse voice flew out from Su-yi's throat. Su-yi's body was like a wild dragon rushing out of the sea towards Long Shan. Long Shan's eyes quickly shrank. His chest was already as dry as a box and his face instantly turned pale. Su-yi in front of him was fighting without any regard for his life. His footsteps were constantly forced back. Long Shan's heart was filled with fear. The rapidly surging Yuan Qi vortex caused an energy ripple to appear in the air with every step Long Shan took. He did not know why Su-yi was so ruthless to the Long family. Golden light overflowed. The huge dragon body behind Su-yi quickly occupied a large area of space. With a dragon roar, Su-yi's blood demon killing god sword appeared in his hand. On his tiger palm, the sword light also shone brightly, causing people's hearts to tremble. Only when he was close, looking at the huge sword in Su-yi's hand and those determined eyes that would never give up, did Long Shan think of something. At this time, a majestic killing intent had already cut through the air. "You are!" Long Shan exclaimed. Even 10,000 regrets in his heart could not describe his current mood. An ear-piercing sonic boom resounded in his ears. The long space crack in front of him turned into ashes. Long Shan's body retreated in slow motion. Bang! The attack, which should have been terrifying and deadly, suddenly stopped in midair. The golden dragon sword aura also stopped 1 meter away from Long Shan's chest. What? Everyone's eyes were filled with surprise. They were so shocked that they straightened their bodies and looked at the strange changes in the sky. But no one noticed that Lu Qi's house behind them had been destroyed into a pile of rubble, and a golden energy beam was emitted from the ruins. Long Shan, who had just escaped death, was in a sorry state. The ferocious energy wave had torn his robe apart, and his chest that was dripping with blood revealed his white bones. Turning around in a flurry, Long Shan's gaze was trembling. He only saw a beautiful golden figure quietly flying over from the sky. There was a dazzling golden light in her hand. Suddenly, a huge spatial crack appeared in the sky filled with golden clouds. When the light fell, the pitch-black spatial crack instantly diluted a large amount of energy in the space. When he saw who it was, Long Shan, who was like an arrow at the end of its flight, seemed to have found his ally. His heart trembled as he shouted in surprise, "Miss Long Ye!" It turned out that the one who saved Long Shan was Long Ye, who came out of Lu Qi's stone house. Because Su-yi had used all the aura of the Golden Dragon to activate the Golden Dragon, his control over Long Ye had already disappeared. Without any explanation, Long Ye, who was standing in the void, raised her eyebrows and split the energy wave in front of her with the golden whip in her hand. She said angrily, "Elder Long Shan, you go first. I'll be right there." Above the void, Long Ye, who had a hot figure, looked at Su-yi in the fire, who was like a god of war. Her face was full of shock and complexity. Then, she waved the long whip in her hand like a dragon. The whip's shadow fell like a storm and scattered the remaining space wave. "You are really from the Long family, Long Ye." A hoarse and low voice came from the flames, and the boiling flames began to dissipate slowly. It was visible to the naked eye that after the formation was destroyed, Su-yi's aura of the Golden Dragon was rapidly dissipating, and at this time, his aura was constantly declining. "I'm sorry." Long Ye's eyes flickered. At this time, for the sake of the Long family, Longya had to stand up. You should be sorry to them below. In the void, Su-yi approached step by step, and the anger in his heart began to spread. His eyes were glowing with hatred as he stared fiercely at Longya. Su-yi stared fiercely at Longya in front of him. His fierce aura spread out again, and the flame in his palm was endless. He pointed at the forsaken dragon clan below. At this moment, everyone, including Xiao Qian, Anyo, Xiao Lei and the others, had come out. In addition to the palpitations and horror in their eyes, there was endless sadness and disappointment. No one had expected that this battle to defend their homeland would end up like this. Sister Yuya. A tender voice came from below, and it was like a sharp sword piercing Longya's heart. This was not the effect that Longya wanted. She only wanted to find Zhong Yunkang before the Long family came and bring him back to the Long family. She did not want to slaughter the village, and did not want anyone to die. She had grown up under the care of her grandfather, Long Kuei, and had only experienced the ruthlessness of life and death in the Long Ben army. Now, Longya was faced with the simple and honest faces, but because of her, they were shocked and disappointed. Longya was a little absent-minded, and her indifferent expression was slightly flustered. She trembled and said, "No, it's not like this, I don't want to become like this." Below, Lu Qi and Old Man Yu were extremely angry. They protected the children under their bodies, and Lu Qin even supported Zhong Yunkang and roared at the beautiful figure in the sky. "She's not Yuya, she's Longya. She came to Shanglong village to kill us. She's a member of the Long family." At this moment, the eyes of the villagers and children who had not yet recovered suddenly dimmed. They could not believe the reality in front of them, and their faces were full of sadness and disappointment. How could the person who healed Lu Qi, brought the children back to Shanglong village, and helped to set up the Golden Dragon restriction spell be a member of the Long family? Wow! The children's eyes began to flicker. Even if they did not want to believe it, the ruins of Lu Qi's house behind them had already proved everything. Then, they called her a liar and glared at Longya with anger. In the large space, everyone was like roaring wild beasts, and they wanted to tear Longya into pieces. "Liar! You liar! Big sister, I hate you! You're the same as the Long family, evil people! Sister Yuya, I hate you! You're the sinner of Shanglong village. I, Lanlan, will never like you again." Above the void, Longya's face changed, and she was silent. A sense of shame that she had never felt before occupied her weak heart. "What else do you have to say?" Su-yi stared at Longya and waved the blood devil-killing god sword in his hand again. Su-yi wanted to kill Longya and Longshan once and for all before the golden dragon aura in his body completely disappeared. With a sad laugh, Longya staggered back, and her hands holding the long whip hung down as if there were no bones. Her blonde hair was messy, and she looked at Su-yi with incomparable determination. Chapter 2088. Ha ha ha! Su-yi, who was in the flames, roared. His huge body of flames expanded again as he shouted angrily, "In that case, there is no other choice. Blame it on the fact that you are from the Long family." Boom! Longya's long golden hair fluttered in the wind. Longya's pupils constricted as she was shocked by Su-yi's murderous aura. Su-yi raised the blood demon killing god sword high up in the air. His muscles suddenly burst and a domineering aura flowed out from Su-yi's body. The mysterious and unpredictable scarlet sword drew a huge arc in front of him. Then, the sharp and fierce sword slashed down from the sky, aiming for Longya's head. Longya's gaze was fixed on the flaming figure. She pursed her lips tightly and was in a daze. She forgot to move for a moment. In the pitch-black space crack, Longshan's eyes kept rolling. Suddenly, he shouted, "Don't hurt my young mistress!" Suddenly, Longshan waved his sleeves rapidly in the air, and a stream of light shot towards the villagers below. Su Yi, who was in midair, stopped his attack. Suddenly, his eyes widened and a ball of flames blasted out from his body. Long Ye stopped breathing when she saw this. She turned around and glared at Long Shan. She shouted angrily, "Long Shan, what are you doing?" Su Yi and Long Ye were shocked at the same time. Long Shan sneered and shouted, "Let's go! It will be too late if you don't go now. Zhong Yunkang will come back next time. The Golden Dragon bloodline will be a disaster if we keep it." On the ground, all the villagers on Shanglong gasped as they looked up at the golden light cascading down. Their legs stiffened. If the stream of light of the Origin Dominion state fell, Shanglong village would be destroyed. Even though Long Shan was leaving, he did not want any of the Golden Dragon bloodline to be left outside. Su Yi, who had no time to care about Long Ye, moved quickly on the spot. He circulated his primordial chi and shot the last stream of Golden Dragon aura toward the stream of light. Boom! T original $0. The sky-blotting light blasted high up in the sky. Streams of extremely bright light clashed against each other, exploding above the upper dragon village. The golden light from the Dragon Mountain eventually turned into a sphere of dazzling mist and dissipated. Following the spreading shockwave, Long Ye stomped her foot, gritted her teeth, and returned to the black spatial rift. An indifferent voice came down from the sky. "Isu, I lied to you, but you also lied to me. Yuan Zong's Golden Dragon bloodline, from today onwards we are even. Today you protect the dragon, but when we meet again we will definitely be enemies." Long Ye angrily glared at Long Shan. She was extremely furious with Long Shan's move just now. She was the first to enter the crack. After Long Ye left, Long Shan turned around and coldly looked at Su Yi, who was hastily setting up a defensive barrier in the air. "Su Yi, I want you to die a horrible death." Long Shan's cold voice quickly floated down. Long Shan smiled evilly. He shook his robe again and immediately entered the crack that was about to close up. At that moment, a golden ball quietly floated out of the crack. Its speed was getting faster and faster, like a stream of fire descending into the world. "Commander!" Zhong Yunkang covered his wound and shouted loudly. "Brother Isu!" Lu Kan also looked at the void with trembling eyes. The golden ball scattered across the sky like a meteor, quickly burning the air in its path into pieces. It was flowing with extraordinary splendor and emitted a terrifying dragon roar. Zhong Yunkang clearly knew that it was the Long family's hidden weapon killer move. His desire to kill the upper dragon was still not dead. Long Shan's ruthlessness was evident. Bang! Without any more doubts, Lu Kan angrily shouted. He stomped his foot heavily and the primordial chi in his body surged as he flew toward Su Yi. Su Yi, who had regained his senses, naturally felt the sound of the wind behind him. Unfortunately, all the primordial chi in his body had been exhausted and there was no way to reverse the situation. His gaze immediately turned solemn. "Demon God Battlesuit!" Su Yi roared angrily in his heart. As soon as his voice fell, a demonic light flashed and covered his body. Su Yi and Lu Kan's figures crossed each other in the void. Immediately after, a violent explosion resounded in the air behind them. Boom! The instant the explosion resounded, sparks flew everywhere. The roar was like a sudden clap of thunder. Lu Kan closed his eyes and used all his strength to pull off the pendant in front of his chest. Suddenly, a majestic force enveloped the two of them. It was like a ball that blocked the monstrous energy wave attack outside of their body. Bang! Lu Kan had just caught Su Yi when he was blown far away by the fierce wind. Su Yi, who was enveloped by the energy wave, also felt the primordial chi in his meridians suddenly stagnate due to the impact. His vision turned black. Bang! In the air, Su Yi's legs went soft. Like a carriage that had lost its power, he fell heavily from a low altitude and smashed into a deep pit in the square. The crisis was finally over. All the people of Shanglong village gathered around. Lu Qi helped Su-yi out of the deep pit. At this time, Su-yi was in a difficult situation. With the help of the protective formation, he had forcibly opened the golden dragon true body. Coupled with the aftereffects of the mysterious light ball, even Su-yi was afraid of the consequences. Supporting himself on Lu Qi's shoulder and dragging his feet on the ground, Su-yi did not even need to think about it. He must be miserable. Taking a deep breath, Su-yi tried to keep his breath as stable as possible. He peered into the damaged meridians and shook his head. Big Brother Isu! Commander! Brother Isu! Seeing that Su-yi was still conscious, all the people present breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Su-yi with concern. In the distance, Lu Kan, who had climbed up, was also bleeding. Although he was protected by the energy shield of the Infinity Sect, how could a warrior of the Origin Void Realm withstand the hidden weapons of the Long family? Trembling, Lu Kan walked out of the crowd with one eye half open. The other eye was so swollen that it could not be opened at all. He said in a trembling voice, "Big Brother Isu, are you all right?" Lu Kan felt a little sorry for his attitude towards Su-yi before. Su-yi smiled miserably. He was not that kind of petty person. He looked at Lu Kan gently and said with a smile, "My name is Su-yi. You can call me by my real name in the future." With that, Su-yi wiped his blood-stained hands on his face and changed back to his original handsome and resolute face. Su-yi. As soon as he heard this name, Lu Kan looked as if he had seen a ghost. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Su-yi, who had suddenly become young. So young. Lu Kan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and curled his lips. Immediately, he was pulled and grimaced in pain. He could not believe it. He leaned closer to identify Su-yi's face. The Su-yi in front of him was clearly 18 or 19 years old, not much older than him. But until he saw the strange blood demon killing god sword in Su-yi's hand, Lu Kan's eyes lit up and he was convinced. His palms kept tapping the ground and his head was like a woodpecker. He shouted excitedly at Elder Yu and his father Lu Qi. Chapter 2089. Oh! Upon hearing this, Lu Kan, Elder Yu, and even Zhong Yunkang looked at the young man in front of them in horror. They did not expect that at such a young age, he would be able to overturn the Saint Mountain and go against the Long family. I've lived for so many years in vain. Even a half-step Origin Sky cultivator does not have the courage of the Lord Commander. Zhong Yunkang coughed heavily and smiled. His expression was filled with admiration and helplessness. Then, he looked at the crowd with a solemn expression. "Villagers of Upper Dragon Village, listen up. From now on, everyone will listen to Lord Su-yi's orders. Lord Su-yi is the Divine Dragon Commander appointed by Lord Golden Dragon. No disobedience." As soon as he finished speaking, shock flashed across the villagers' faces. Then, every villager pulled their children and knelt in front of Su-yi. Now that Zhong Yunkang had personally acknowledged his identity and saved Upper Dragon Village, Su-yi had long become a god in their hearts. They did not dare to disrespect him at all. "Big Brother!" Xiao Qian, Lon Lon, and the other children looked at each other. They did not know what was going on, so they were a little shy. Elder Yu's face immediately turned pale. He pulled a long face and said in a slightly reprimanding tone, still calling him Big Brother, "You have to call him Lord Commander in the future. Don't be rude." Elder Yu's cloudy eyes suddenly became serious. The children were so scared that they hid behind the adult. Faced with such a scene, Su-yi could not help but smile. He looked at the surrounding ruins and sighed. "Elder Yu, how are your injuries?" Elder Yu used his strength at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage to forcefully break the Grand Defensive Formation. Although he was only borrowing the force to fight, he was still severely injured. After listening to Su-yi's words, everyone's eyes fell on Elder Yu. They were filled with worry. "Lord Commander, I'm fine." After saying that, His thin chest began to gasp for breath. He was like a bellows as he coughed incessantly. Even with Su Yi's spirit liquid protecting his body, this was an irreparable injury to an 80 or 90-year-old old man. "What's your plan from now on?" Su Yi said faintly. His eyes were slightly tired. Bang! All the villagers of Shanglong village said in unison, as if they had agreed beforehand, "We'll follow the commander's orders." Zhong Yunkang also revealed a smile. He had never felt so relaxed before. Now that they had Su Yi, it was as if they had found their backbone. With Su Yi around, it was their home. Feeling the feeling of being treasured and owned once again, Su Yi nodded slightly. He placed his sword on the ground and looked around, preparing to speak. Chi La. P. Look at the chapter of Zizheng's. G on section G%0. At that moment, a spatial crack appeared behind them out of nowhere. Everyone's heart trembled. Could it be that the Long family had made a comeback? Su Yi's eyes instantly sharpened. He raised his eyebrows and looked towards the horizon. Then, he shook his head and smiled at Lu Ken. "Little Can, they were summoned by you, right?" "Su Yi, where are you?" "Su Yi." A tender voice with a hint of eagerness and softness came along with the mountain wind. From the spatial crack, a pale green figure quickly descended, gaining the upper hand by showing off her strength. Looking from afar, it was a simple and elegant dress with vivid and lifelike drawings of mountains and rivers. It was elegant and delicate. The woman floated down from the sky. Her eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of mist. Her pink lips were like the buds of early spring. It was a completely different concept from Long Ye's charming and enchanting appearance. Long Ye. Thinking of this, Su Yi's heart sank. Since they were not from the bloodline remnant clan, but from the Long family, Su Yi asked himself, "Next time, should I slash down without hesitation?" While thinking, the woman flew to everyone's side. Lu Kan was a little embarrassed and greeted her first. "Senior Sister Yuro." As soon as he said that, a young man's face turned red. It was Han Yuro from the Infinite Sect. When she heard about Su Yi from her father, she pestered him to come. "Little Kan?" Han Yuro clearly didn't know why Lu Kan was here, but she still nodded and focused all her attention on Su Yi. "Su Yi, are you hurt? Let me see, does it hurt?" She took Su Yi from Lu Chi's hands and stroked Su Yi up and down. The dripping blood stung Han Yuro's eyes, and her eyes immediately turned red. After parting at the Heavenly Soul competition, Su Yi had not seen Han Yuro. Now that he was being cared for in public, Su Yi felt a little awkward. "Miss Yuro, I'm fine, it's nothing." Su Yi curled his lips. Han Yuro was still as bold and unrestrained as when they first met. She was the shrewish girl next door. But this kindness warmed Su Yi's heart. Seeing that Su Yi was not very obedient, Han Yuro angrily glared at Su Yi. Her light eyelashes were full of rebuke. "I know you have a grudge with the Long family, but you can't be so forceful. The Long family is not the sacred mountain. To be able to stand at the top of the sky barbarians, don't they have some skills?" Su Yi smiled and nodded. He obediently listened to Han Yuro's lecture and nodded repeatedly. Her words were crude, but the truth was not. The Long family's origin domain realm powerhouses could use the Golden Dragon bloodline's powerful attack power and extremely strong physical strength to fight with the sacred flame. This time, if he had not activated his Golden Dragon true body, he would have suffered even more serious injuries just by relying on his combat strength that was above his cultivation level. The Long family was indeed a terrifying existence. Chapter 2090. Muttering to himself, Su Yi raised his eyebrows. Viciousness flashed in his eyes as he said, "Now that we've come this far, it's time to see the results. The Long family is the only one with the Golden Dragon bloodline in the Heavenly Barbarians." Hearing this, Han Wulong was stunned for a moment before he nodded and laughed. "Elder Yu, Lord Yunkang, let's go. Back to the Boundless Sect." The boundless sect will be your home from now on. Let's go. Su-Yi smiled. By saying this, Su-Yi handed Upper Dragon Village over to the immeasurable sect, which was tantamount to tying himself to the immeasurable sect. The entire boundless sect would live and die with Su-Yi from now on. This was naturally something that Han Wulong yearned for the most. Because of his golden dragon bloodline, the boundless sect had been suppressed by the Long family all these years. This was not in line with his character. After saying that, Han Wulong waved his hand and angrily called out to the experts behind him. They quickly gave the medicine they brought to the Heavenly Dragon Village. After a short rest, they returned to the boundless sect with the villagers. Before leaving, everyone turned back to look at their homeland. Everyone present was tearing up, their eyes full of reluctance. Although this land was simple, without many decorations or sufficient spiritual chi, it was the hometown of every Heavenly Dragon Village villager. Their homeland was like a bright moon that always warmed their hearts. When they turned back, not only Liu Kan, but also Liu Qi, Elder Yu, and the others, there was incomparable determination in their eyes. Unspecified currency W, forever square root K, free fee. Y looks at S small square root say QV0 at O. Everyone knew that the Heavenly Dragon Village had awakened. Finally, it was time to officially declare war on the Long family. Su-Yi calculated in his heart. Now that the Holy Mountain was cleared, the Xiahong House would stand on his side. The Boundless Sect, Demon-Subduing Sect, Imperial Palace, and Bawang Sect of the Chaos region combined the strength of the four sects was already extraordinary. Su-Yi knew that the time to truly set foot on the Long family was getting closer and closer. There was not much time left for him to become stronger. Soon, he followed Han Wulong and the others back to the beautiful boundless river with abundant spiritual chi. In the immeasurable river there was a saying, "Immeasurable mountains and seas, the water is soft and the mountains are warm." On Immeasurable Mountain, thousands of rocks competed with each other for beauty. The green mountains were like black, and the green mountain scenery was quiet and beautiful. The vegetation was verdant and lush, and the trees that covered the ground were at least 1,000 years old. This was where the immeasurable gate was located. The spiraling spiritual energy on it was comparable to that of the Drive the Heavens River. It was definitely an excellent place for cultivation. The word boundless was derived from the meaning of boundless body, beyond the reach of ordinary people. Meanwhile, on the shore of the boundless limitless sea, the towering cliffs formed a sharp contrast with the towering limitless gate. On the rock walls, there were countless secret cultivation caves created by the immeasurable sect. The inside of these caves was vast and boundless, preserving the immeasurable sect's codex that had been cultivated for generations. It was a place where only the core disciples of the immeasurable sect could enter to cultivate. As for Su-Yi, he was arranged to stay in the most secretive secret room in the most secretive cave. He was protected by the Infinity Gate, and even the people of the Upper Dragon Village were not allowed to visit him. On the first day of his arrival at the immeasurable sect, Su-Yi's daily necessities were all taken care of by Han Yuro. Apart from that, Han Yuro was even more worried about Su-Yi's recovery. Even if Su-Yi was unwilling, he would still send the chief alchemist to check on him every day. After being rejected by Su-Yi time and time again, Han Yuro also gave up on the idea. The secret room that Su-Yi was in was completely silent. No one came to visit him. This secret room made of primal crystal stones just happened to allow Su-Yi to open up his mysterious space. When it came to treatment, when it came to spirit medicines, who could compare to him? Boom! Sitting cross-legged, the mysterious energy of the mysterious space spread out in all directions. Su-Yi's entire body was soaked in the spirit pool. During his rapid recovery, he drank the spirit liquid when he was thirsty, and chewed on the roots left behind by the blood jade spirit ginseng when he was hungry. In the mysterious space, all kinds of medicinal pills were neatly arranged by Qi Feihong beside him. Looking at little handsome Su sleeping soundly beside him, Su-yi unconsciously spat softly. Your big brother almost died, and you don't even know how to get up to help. If you were here, I would have had more strength when I went to the Long family. Su-yi sighed heavily. Thinking of little handsome Su's arrogant appearance, Su-yi still missed him quite a bit. This was the only remaining god in the world, the phoenix, a true spirit beast. Su-yi couldn't do anything about it since he didn't wake up for a long time. He pondered in his heart. Perhaps this little fatty would only wake up on the day he faced the immemorial Great Tribulation. Shaking his head, Su-yi closed his eyes tightly and soaked his broken body in the spirit pool. He tried his best to feel the wonderful feeling of the spirit liquid energy entering his meridians through his pores. As soon as he entered the spirit pool, his meridians were wrapped in a layer of energy film. The vast energy nourished his meridians, and the stars behind Su-yi reappeared. The vast galaxy flowed endlessly, and a majestic aura gradually enveloped Su-yi's body. Looking at the profound spirit fire liquid slowly gathering in his dantian, Su-yi's heart trembled slightly. After going through the terrifying battles with experts, his meridians and flesh had endured unimaginable experiences. They were torn apart and reborn again and again. At this time, Su-yi discovered that in the process of his dantian's qi and blood constantly filling up, the 21st profound gate also began to show signs of loosening. I'm about to break through, Su-yi whispered in joy, and the corner of his mouth raised into a happy smile. Strength was what he lacked the most right now. Thinking of Draconis's unfathomable strength, Su-yi's heart was full of seriousness. Immediately, he focused all his attention, closed his eyes, and calmed his qi to heal. Not long after, the energy threads hidden in the space hit Su-yi's body like a storm. The aura surging out of his body fluctuated rapidly, and the high-speed roar was like a thunderstorm. The explosion resounded through the air, and light flashed. Just like Han Yuro, Han Wulong was busy the moment he returned to the Immeasurable Sect, as if he was preparing for battle. The Immeasurable Sect was one of the 3 sects and 4 factions of the One Mountain, 2 religions, and 3 sects. In terms of size, it was comparable to the Sacred Mountain. As an extremely powerful figure in the 6 continents, 3 prefectures, and 1 sea, Han Wulong was already at the 9th level of the Origin Ancestor realm before reaching the age of knowing destiny. He had absolute authority in the Immeasurable Sect. However, when it came to using the entire sect's strength to go against the Long family, facing the strongest existence in the Sky Barbarian realm alone was no different from courting death. There were many objections in the Immeasurable Sect. Back in the Upper Dragon Village, Su-yi had already expressed his intention to go all out against the Long family. This was like a reassuring pill for Han Wulong. As someone with the Golden Dragon bloodline, Han Wulong couldn't wait any longer. As soon as he returned to the sect and settled the descendants of the Golden Dragons, he continued the meeting. He directly rejected the Golden Dragon plan proposed by the Long family's expert. After bribing the elders, the Immeasurable Sect entered the stage of war preparation. Han Wulong only hoped that the day Su-yi came out of seclusion, the Immeasurable Sect would be unified and work together to deal with the Long family. Chapter 2091. 2 days passed quickly while the Immeasurable Sect was recovering. Looking in from the outside, it had been a long time since there had been any movement in the stone chamber. At night, the sea breeze was bleak. Han Yuro's black hair fell like a waterfall, and her eyes sparkled with starlight. Under the reflection of the silver light, her skin was smooth and beautiful. However, she didn't have the mood to appreciate the beautiful night view of the unluminous sea. Her heart was hanging on Su-yi's body in the secret chamber. Standing on her tiptoes, she stretched her neck and looked into the secret chamber. Her brows were full of worry. She wondered how Su-yi was recovering in there, and whether he had encountered any difficulties. Hanuro kept asking herself these questions. Her frowning brows were like two crescent moons. Roar! The night wind with a faint fishy smell whistled through the air. It was like a screeching owl piercing through the sky. It blew the hair on Hanuro's forehead high. Hanuro stood upright. Her red lips were tightly pursed. Her hands were placed in front of her chest. An indescribable sadness appeared on her tender face. Thinking back to before, when they were both in Yunzhou, the news of the wedding at the Heavenly Palace had spread like wildfire. Even though she was deep in the palace, how could she not know? In those few days, she seemed to have sunk into emptiness and pain. She herself didn't know when she had fallen in love with this man. Was it the first time they met in Suiyun County? Or was it the heroic rescue before the earthquake? Or was it the bravery of taking first place in the Heavenly Palace Soul competition? Or was it the miracle of a genius that was spread by word of mouth? Facing this kind of person who always looked indifferent, but cared more about what he thought than anyone else, he was willing to risk his life to protect the person he loved. No one would not be moved. Han Yuro had always been the apple of Han Wulong's eye since she was young. Naturally, she would vaguely follow the template of someone who could protect himself and was brave enough to take responsibility to find her sweetheart. Even though Su Yi was already married, when she heard the news of Su Yi's accident, Han Yuro's heart was in turmoil. She still rushed over as soon as possible. At that time, there was only one thought in Han Yuro's mind. She had to bring Su Yi back safely, even if it was her own wishful thinking. The deep night sky was quiet and long. Amidst the brilliant light, Han Yuro shook her head forcefully, forcing herself not to think about these questions. After a long while, Haifeng seemed to have stopped. Han Yuro raised her head as if she was relieved. She shook her head and laughed at herself. In a low voice, she muttered, "Yuro, oh Yuro, you really are stupid. How could his heaven and earth be in the limitless gate? What about Han Yuro?" In the distance, an enormous figure in the dark seemed to heave a sigh of relief, and a trace of dejection surged out from its pair of bright tiger eyes. Boom! Suddenly, ripples appeared in the small space behind Han Yuro. It was Han Wulong walking over with heavy footstep. After 2 days, under Han Wulong's insistence, the immeasurable gate finally came to a consensus. The bloodline of the Upper Dragon Village was temporarily placed in the immeasurable gate. "Daughter, is Su Yi still not out yet?" Hearing her father's voice behind her, Han Yuro's body trembled slightly. She stretched out her soft hand and pretended to rub her eyes, quickly wiping away the moisture at the corner of her eyes. She turned her head and smiled. "Not yet. Today is the second day." Looking at Han Yuro's bright appearance, Han Wulong was stunned for a moment. Then, he nodded and muttered, "It's fine. Father will wait with you." After saying that, Han Wulong held Han Yuro's small hand and walked towards the beach. The brilliant waves were like silver fish, overflowing with color under the sky. The two sat on the beach and looked at the bright moon in the sky. Han Yuro took the opportunity to wrap her arms around Han Wulong's shoulder. The tip of her nose was slightly sore. "Father, when Sui comes out, I don't want to stay in the immeasurable gate anymore. I want to go out for a walk." As her father, how could he not know what Han Yuro meant? She probably didn't want to stay in the immeasurable gate anymore. Han Yuro had been spoiled since she was young. Han Wulong sighed in his heart. Why did his daughter have to meet such an ambitious person who didn't care about her? Han Wulong sighed in his heart and forced a smile. He lowered his muffled voice and said as gently as possible, "Rower, listen to Father's story, okay?" "Father?" Han Yuro raised her head. A trace of doubt appeared in her misty eyes, but she still nodded. Once upon a time, there was a young man who was extremely talented since he was young. However, this young man wanted to reach the peak of martial arts. All day long, he looked for people to compete with. In one of the secret realms, this young man was taught a lesson by a demon emperor realm savage beast. From then on, he was left with extremely serious injuries. His cultivation regressed, and he experienced all kinds of hardships. And then, Han Yuro's gaze trembled slightly. She suddenly realized that there was a trace of strangeness in Han Wulong's eyes. In the sect, some elders didn't give up on him. They searched all over Yunzhou for him, looking for the heavenly barbarians. In the end, they finally found an ancient village. It was said that this ancient village had the inheritance of a strange divine beast. The sect and the young man spent a lot of effort and finally received the recognition of the inheritor in the village. They were guided to a place called the Chaos Region to receive the true divine beast's inheritance. Han Yuro swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Her beautiful and slender neck stretched slightly under the moonlight. Han Yuro seemed to understand the meaning of the story. Han Wulong was clearly talking about his past. Head slash. But how could the inheritance of a divine beast be so easy? The young man went through a lot of hardships before he finally obtained this rare bloodline. Han Yuro hugged Han Wulong's arm and rested her head on his bulging muscles. She whispered, "Father, what are you trying to say?" With a chuckle, Han Wulong let out a long sigh of relief. He tilted his head and glanced at the pearl in his palm from the corner of his eyes. Yes, this young man is father. The ancient village is the Upper Dragon Village. The divine beast's inheritance is the Golden Dragon's inheritance. What father wants to say is that back then, the Boundless sect didn't give up on father. Father also didn't give up on himself. I didn't have the slightest thought of escaping. No matter how difficult it was, father never thought of giving up. Han Yuro raised her head. A layer of mist instantly appeared in her eyes. Han Wulong's gaze immediately became firm. The Long family has been eyeing the Boundless sect covetously for many years. This time, they invited father to the Chaos region on the surface. In fact, it's very likely that father will never return. But father doesn't want to escape anymore. This is a trial that must be passed. Father. Han Yuro frowned. It turned out that Han Wulong wasn't just comforting her. He was also telling her about the crisis that the Boundless sect was facing. Suddenly, Han Yuro couldn't hold back the sadness in her heart. She threw herself into Han Wulong's arms and sobbed softly. In the dark night, Han Wulong's face became kind for the first time. He stretched out his broad and rough hand and smiled as he stroked Han Yuro's hair. Chapter 2092. Aren't they all half-step Yuan Tian? Even Elder Kong can't beat them? Han Yuro stopped crying. This is the horror of the Long family. The Golden Dragon bloodline is extraordinary. And Draconis's bloodline has undergone a transformation that only happens once in 10,000 years. He can be said to be the strongest in the Long family. Now that he is already half-step Yuan Tian, he may soon be the second person to reach the peak of Yuan Tian on this continent. At that time, no one will be able to stop him. Is it really that terrifying? A touch of shock flashed across Han Yuro's eyes, and her weak body began to tremble unconsciously. Han Wulong nodded helplessly. Looking at Han Yuro, his eyes were incomparably firm. Father won't give up, but will you give up? A heavy sense of mission instantly pressed down on Han Yuro's body. Raising her head, Han Yuro also instantly understood. In front of the survival of the sect, what was love? How could she abandon the Infinite sect? If she left, it would be a potential threat to the Infinite sect. After pondering for a long time, Han Yuro's eyes instantly became clear, and the sadness from before was swept away. She took a deep breath and said, "Father, Roer understands, Roer will not give up." Han Yuro's understanding made Han Wulong feel very gratified. His hands unconsciously held Han Yuro tightly, and a trace of happiness appeared in his eyes. This daughter of his was like a treasure to him. If it was someone else who heard her heart like this, he would have already chopped that person into pieces. But unfortunately, this person was Su-yi. Turning around, Han Wulong's sharp eyes fell on the secret cave behind him. A series of strange spatial fluctuations also appeared on the beach, causing the nearby trees to rustle. This guy, he will never give up. Han Wulong smiled slightly. He knew that Su-yi must have come out of seclusion. Immediately, the father and daughter stood up, and their expectant eyes shot out. A bright flame streaked across the sky, and then the flame steadily landed on the beach. Red light flickered in the night sky. Inside the light, a green robe fluttered, transcending the mortal world. A strange majestic power lingered around Su-yi like a roaring dragon. Looking at Han Wulong and Han Yuro from afar, a vortex formed under Su-yi's feet. His figure flashed like lightning and arrived beside the two, laughing heartily. "I've made you wait." The moment she saw Su-yi, the graceful Han Yuro smiled faintly. The pain she had hidden in her heart earlier had already been erased. She said in a low voice, "Congratulations on recovering, Su-yi." Su-yi nodded politely and sized up Han Yuro. There was a calm charm hidden in her eyes, and Su-yi couldn't help but be amazed. "Lord Commander Yu? Did he break through again?" The inexplicable transformation was far beyond Han Wulong's expectations. His mouth was agape for a long time, full of amazement. At this time, Han Yuro also noticed Su-yi's jade-like appearance. He was handsome and outstanding, and his skin was emitting a clear luster. He definitely had the temperament of a master. Su-yi stretched out his hands and looked at the changes around him with joy. It turned out that forcefully opening the golden dragon's aura this time had given him a rare experience. The extraordinary experience had stimulated all the medicinal effects and remaining energy that had been accumulated in his body, helping him break through to the 4th level of the Origin Ancestor realm in one go and open 21 profound entrances. However, what exceeded Su-yi's expectations was that after opening another profound entrance, there were no other changes, and he didn't comprehend any new profound spirit technique. Previously, when he used the Sorrow Star to kill the sacred flame, he had used 3 drops of mysterious spirit fire liquid. This time, after his cultivation had increased, he still had 6 drops of mysterious spirit fire liquid, which could support him for 3 breaths of time to open the Sorrow Star. "It's all luck. It's just that I don't know when I'll be able to break through again." Su-yi smiled faintly, but his eyes flashed with a hint that he was still too slow. Upon hearing that, Han Wulong couldn't help but roll his eyes. He had just said that he was extremely talented, but compared to this monster in front of him, he was simply too miserable to look at. He wasn't even 20 years old, but he was already at the 4th level of the Origin Ancestor realm. Didn't that mean that he had lived for more than 20 years in vain? "Commander, you're really modest," Han Wulong said in a muffled voice, obviously unconvinced. Han Yuro also smiled and tilted her head to look at the godlike young man in front of her. She said seriously, "Su-yi, what do you plan to do next?" Su-yi looked at Han Wulong again. Han Wulong also told Su-yi about the situation in the Boundless sect, as well as the Boundless sect's decision to follow Su-yi and fight against the Long family. "Great. We have another tyrannical force." Su-yi's eyes lit up as he looked at the clouds in the sky and said softly, "Originally, I didn't want to clash with the Long family so soon. After leaving the Yutian Palace, I was prepared to go to the Ancient Cloud Immortal sect." When Han Wulong heard that name, he immediately frowned. During the Tianfeng ranking tournament, Yun Zhongli had ordered that anyone who had news about Su-yi must report it immediately. The Yun family seemed to be inextricably linked to Su-yi. The Yun family was an existence that was second only to the Long family among the 5 ancient forces. In the past few decades, they had been fighting with the Long family to the death. However, for some reason, they had suddenly disappeared in the past few decades and kept a low profile, which had unknowingly increased the Long family's arrogance. Yun Zhongli, who was in charge of the Yun family, had always been recognized by the Tianyan continent as the only man who could defeat Draconis. "Commander, how did you get involved with the Yun family?" Narrowing his eyes, he recalled that Yun Zhongli had once asked him if he had seen a lady with a blood-patterned jade pendant. Wasn't he questioning him about seeing Yun Jing? Jing Wan and Fatty Wang are now in the Yun family. I still have to go to the Yun family. Yong Kei read H novel as 04 free. Sighing softly, Su Yi twisted his neck and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He said softly, "There are some things that I have to get answers to. By the way, sect leader Han, do you know how to get to the ancient cloud immortal sect?" Han Wulong shook his head without hesitation and said softly, "The ancient families each live in their own small worlds and have their own unique space laws that are unknown to the world." In the Yutian Palace, Su Yi had also looked up the history of the ancient cloud immortal sect in the Heavenly Scroll House. However, there were no records of the location and direction. Originally, he did not have much hope, so he took a deep breath. It seems that the ancient cloud immortal sect is quite mysterious. Su Yi's eyes trembled. He had to start worrying about how to get to the ancient cloud immortal sect. "Commander, what about the members of the Long family who escaped? The Long family will definitely take action." Han Wulong's eyes were solemn. In the night sky, Su Yi also frowned. Now, the immeasurable sect had placed the Shanglong bloodline in the immeasurable sect. If Long Yu reported back, Draconis would definitely do anything for the Golden Dragon mystery territory. Chapter 2093. The severity of the situation caused Su Yi to frown. After pondering for a while, Su Yi said solemnly, "Now, I can only return to the Chaos region and quickly consolidate the forces of the Bawang sect to make preparations. As for the ancient Cloud Immortal sect, I can only visit them when I have clues." The ancient Cloud Immortal sect was mysterious and unpredictable. Su Yi hoped that the Long family would make a big fuss when they found out about the Upper Dragon Village. He wanted the Yun family to find trouble with him immediately. This way, there would be a good show to watch between the Long family and the Yun family. After hearing Su Yi's plan, Han Wulong and Han Yuro's faces twitched, and they hurriedly nodded. If it was really as Su Yi thought, the Long family could be held back by the Yun family for a while. This would secretly give the Infinite Sect time to prepare. Immediately, the father and daughter looked at Su Yi in amazement. Han Wulong couldn't help but feel happy in his heart, and sighed with emotion. Su Yi was probably the only person in the entire Tianyan continent who could combine the four sects into one. If the four sects could really combine, the Long family would no longer dare to underestimate the Infinite Sect. Destroy the sect? Then they would have to carefully consider it. As they spoke, the three of them felt a little more confident about the current situation. The haze and sadness were immediately swept away. That night, they returned to the Infinite Sect. Su Yi also saw the recovering Elder Yu and Zhong Yunkong once again. After briefly telling Elder Yu and Zhong Yunkong about the future, Su Yi ordered all the villagers of Upper Dragon Village to gather together, including Liu Kan. For the entire day, Su Yi, Zhong Yunkong, and Han Wulong worked together to use the aura of the Golden Dragon to help the bloodline of the Upper Dragon Village recover. Since they had already declared war, they didn't have to worry about their auras leaking, nor did they have to worry about the Long family coming to find them. Not to mention that the Infinite Sect had Su Yi and the Imperial Palace behind them. Just the title of one of the top 10 forces was enough to protect them for a while. The villagers of Upper Dragon Village could take advantage of this time to cultivate in the Infinite Sect. Inside the immeasurable palace, golden light shone resplendently, and there was a hubbub of people. Who said that only the Long family has the Golden Dragon bloodline? Let Draconis wait and see. After healing everyone, the corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up. His gaze swept across the surprised villagers, and he laughed heartily. Now that the meridians of the Upper Dragon Village had been reversed, It was only a matter of time before their cultivation level and realm were restored. The excited villagers hugged each other and cried like they were reborn. Children like Little Lei, Anyo, Qianqian, and the others already had physical strength that was hard for others to reach. He was still young. If he could adapt to his newly twisted meridians and train diligently, he would definitely become an expert in the future. Su-yi not only saved the Upper Dragon Village, but he also changed the fate of every villager. Elder Yu, your injuries are being nourished by the Golden Dragon's aura. It won't be difficult for you to recover to your peak condition in the future. However, don't force yourself like this in the future. It's too dangerous. A trace of worry appeared in Su-yi's eyes. Elder Yu was already old, and the pain this time might leave behind a great hidden danger. %update fastest/last /0, or if the Long family came to invade, Su-yi did not want Elder Yu to be in danger. Suddenly, Elder Yu's gaze trembled. Deep in his murky eyes, he was touched. He bowed respectfully to Su-yi. I'll remember your words, Commander. At this moment, Liu Kan, who was standing at the back of the crowd, never looked away from Su-yi. The young man in front of him, whose name shook the sky barbarian realm, was already like an overlord at such a young age. He sat firmly in his position and gave pointers to the expert. Liu Kan's immature face had long since surged with boundless reverence. He hesitated on the spot for a while before finally mustering up the courage to walk forward and look straight at Su-yi as he said in a muffled voice, "Big brother Su-yi, Little Kan?" Su-yi looked at Liu Kan, who had recovered well. He walked down from his seat and patted the latter's shoulder. He laughed softly and said, "You have to cultivate well too. When I come back, you have to do more for the Infinite Sect. After all, you're the one who saved me. I, Su-yi, will remember you." Liu Kan raised his eyes, which rippled. Su-yi did not blame him for his previous actions. He immediately nodded and said excitedly, "Yes, brother Su-yi, I'll definitely cultivate well. When I come back, I'll fight side by side with you." Everyone looked at each other and smiled. Amidst the dangerous atmosphere, the Infinite Sect's main hall was filled with long-awaited laughter. It was night time again. Su-yi returned to the quiet room arranged for him. As soon as he entered the room, Su-yi stretched and shook his slightly dizzy head. Using such a large amount of the Golden Dragon's aura really consumes a lot of soul energy. However, it's also a rare tempering. Su-yi pursed his lips, blinked his eyes hard, and took a deep breath. Immediately, he began to circulate his hand seals and the art of controlling the heavens. The surrounding spatial energy converged towards his mind like a tide, bit by bit converging into soul energy. After a long while, Su-yi opened his eyes. His whole body was as gentle as jade, and his eyes were as clear and bright as spring water. He stood up and fixed his gaze on the bright moonlight outside the window. A light flashed in his deep eyes as he muttered to himself, "It's time to leave." Su-yi roused himself. After the matters in the Cloud State were settled, it was a good idea to leave in the middle of the night. Whoosh! Suddenly, a spatial ripple appeared out of thin air in the small room. The dim light was immediately extinguished, and smoke rose in spirals and drifted into the distance. At the same time, in another high place in the Infinite Sect, Han Wulong's eyes were as sharp as a hawk's. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking dignified. In the dark behind him, two white-robed elders of the Yuan Domain realm bowed and said respectfully, "Sect Master, the disciples at the border of the Cloud State have sent news that the Long family's experts have not left the territory." After pondering for a while, Han Wulong frowned and said in a deep voice, "The Long family did not rush back to the Long family in 3 days, nor did they go to the Infinite Sect. What do they want to do?" And that Long family expert who went to the Infinite Sect alone did not seem to be traveling with Long One and Long Shan. Could it be that they are waiting for Su-yi to leave the Infinite Sect? One of the white-robed elders' turbid eyes flashed with doubt. Nothing must happen to the commander. Since these people are not going back, let them stay in the infinite sect forever. Two supreme elders, please follow me. In the night sky, Han Wulong's body emitted a fierce murderous aura. As soon as he finished speaking, 3 faint white yuan chi arcs flashed in the void and flew towards Su Yi's direction. Cloud State in a nameless valley. Long Shan had been recuperating in the cave for 3 days. Although his injuries were not completely healed, he could already walk freely. Chapter 2094. There was a hint of worry on her charming face. Just looking at her from afar, her beautiful back was enough to arouse countless wild and fanciful thoughts. Long Shan, who finally walked out of the cave, subconsciously covered his forehead with his hand to block the bright moonlight. His narrowed eyes kept wandering over Long Ye's fiery curve. He licked his dry lips and chuckled. "Miss Long Ye, have you recovered?" Long Ye didn't even bother to turn her head. Her face was gloomy, and there was a hint of disdain between her brows. Long Ye's indifferent attitude startled Long Shan, but it didn't break Long Shan's enthusiasm. Instead, he became even more attentive. He leaned forward and said, "May I know why Miss Long Ye has come to the Cloud Prefecture?" This time, the Long family sent a total of 3 experts. One of them was Long Di, who was also at the 5th level of the Origin Domain stage. After Long Shan and Long Wen sent Yun Lingfeng to the Devil Race's territory, they came to the Cloud Prefecture to search for the Golden Dragon bloodline. Long Di represented the Brahma Dragon's celestial palace to negotiate with the Boundless sect, inviting Han Wulong to the Chaos territory to open the Golden Dragon's secret realm together. This matter was so secretive that only a few people in the Long family knew about it. Long Ye frowned when she heard this. Her eyes flashed with anger. Long Shan was obviously trying to make things difficult for her. "You still have the nerve to ask me? If I didn't come, you would be a pile of mud like Long One. The Long family actually lost a deacon. Let's see how you're going to explain it when we go back." Long Ye curled her lips in disdain. Long Shan paused for a moment, and his eyes flickered. Long Ye's words weren't convincing at all. He coughed and chuckled. "Young Miss Long Ye is right, but how did young Miss Long Ye get to know that person with the Golden Dragon bloodline? I remember that Miss Long Ye has never left the Heavenly Palace." Long Ye's brows furrowed. She turned around and shouted, "What are you trying to say?" "Chi." The space behind him rippled, and a man in a dark purple robe shot over like a nighthawk. As soon as he landed, his sharp pupils suddenly shrank, and a hoarse and unpleasant low voice came from his robe, as if hot oil had been poured over him. "Miss Long Ye, why are you here?" Long Di scanned Long Ye's body suspiciously. Long Ye glanced at him and snorted. She immediately turned her head away and did not answer him. "Miss Long Ye, it seems that you are quite angry." Looking at Long Ye's inexplicable anger, Long Di took off the hood of his robe. His thin face was filled with confusion. Then, he discovered that Long One was not here. He exchanged glances with Long Shan and immediately understood. "How are things on your side? What took you so long to find us?" Long Shan sneered and glanced at Long Ye from the corner of his eyes. At the mention of this matter, Long Di's killing intent suddenly burst out. He said in a deep voice, "Han Wulong is very slippery. He found many excuses to not leave the immeasurable sect and even asked this old man to give him more time. I left the immeasurable sect and was about to meet up with you first, but I found the aura of Upper Dragon Village. After I went there, I knew that you had experienced a fierce battle." The wound on Long Shan's chest was still aching faintly. When Long Shan recalled the situation that day, he still shuddered and said in a low voice, "Long One was tricked. Not only did Zhong Yunkong, that old bastard, block it, there was also a young man who was extremely strange." "What happened?" Long Di followed Long Shan's gaze and looked at Long Ye. The latter also turned her head and looked at the two coldly. Long Shan snorted and said with a cold gaze, "Miss Longya, do you know who that person with the golden dragon bloodline is? Who is it?" Longya raised her eyebrows and her eyes emitted a cold gaze. "That person is Sui." Long Shan sniffed, and a sinister aura was released from his body. Suddenly, Longya was stunned on the spot. She carefully recalled the series of events when she met Isu and muttered in a low voice, "Sui? Isu?" As if they were connected in an instant, Long Ya's red lips parted slightly, and her beautiful eyes gradually lowered. An indescribable anger and coldness spread from her face, and the joints of her tightly clenched fists began to turn white. "Long Shan, are you sure it's Sui?" Long Di suddenly became nervous. If he could take down this person who was highly regarded by the dragon god and a thorn in Long Tsang's side, he would definitely be able to make up for his failure. After he finished speaking, Long Di's body leaned forward, and a thick yuan qi burst out from his wrinkled palm. Long Shan nodded his head heavily. He would never forget that pair of deep and bright eyes. Long Shan's eyes were filled with coldness. The corner of his mouth curled up into a cold smile as he said, "There is no mistake. A person can change their appearance, but that heavy sword cannot be concealed. It is Sui, that little bastard." The two people at the side sucked in a breath of cold air. That's right, Sui had a heavy sword that was taller than a person. This was something that everyone who participated in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament knew. "That's right. Let's go and kill this brat. Let's take revenge for young Master Long Tsang." Long Di suddenly became excited when he heard this, his face full of killing intent rippling. As soon as he finished speaking, Long Ya's eyes flickered, and she remained silent for a long time. Long Shan and Long Di looked at each other and a trace of cunning flashed in their eyes. Suddenly, the corners of their mouths rose in tacit understanding. "Let's go. Hurry up and go." G0 At that time, in the Long family's secret chamber, the three experts had asked Long Tsang about Sui. When necessary, Long Tsang's answer was incomparably firm, and he said that he could kill anyone. A hint of a conspiracy arose between the two of them. After a pause, Long Ye seemed to have made up her mind and said seriously, "Since he is Sui and killed my Long family's deacon, he must not be left alive. He must pay the price for injuring young Palace Master Long Tsang. Yes, if we can bring Suyi's head back, young Master Long Tsang will definitely be happy. Who knows, maybe our deacon position will directly become an elder." Long Di's lips curled into a sinister smile, as if he had foreseen such a scene. Long Shan stroked his chin and a light flickered in the depths of his eyes. He raised his head and pretended to be worried. "But this guy is very strange. He also has the golden dragon bloodline. I'm afraid he won't be easy to deal with." "Long Shan, you're Yuan domain expert, but you're such a coward." Long Ye mocked Long Di and said coldly, "Suyi's injuries are so serious that he can't move even if he's standing in front of you. If you don't want to go, I'll go myself." Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, Long Ye swung her long hair and a spatial ripple swayed out of thin air, leaving behind a spot of light in the distance. After Long Ye left, Long Shan and Long Di looked at each other and smiled. Long Shan said, "That idiot Long Wen died early. Now Long Ye and Sui are both ours. Ha ha ha." Chapter 2095. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Under the night sky of Cloud Prefecture, the mountains overlapped one another. In the distance, the dark blue mountain ridges rippled between the mountains like water waves. Between the verdant and lush greenery, there was a restrained aura shuttling through the dense forest from the top of the boundless gate. Wherever the aura passed, the grass and trees scattered. Light and shadow shuttled back and forth. A black shadow stood on a tree trunk. Through the dense veins of the leaves, he looked back at the boundless gate. His eyes were indifferent and revealed a cold arrogance. The winding and rugged mountain road was connected to the boundless gate like a sheep intestine. The boundless gate was transparent and clean like a pearl. It was indescribably gorgeous. And square root most. New O caret, section U0 inch sui, why don't you just use the teleportation formation of the boundless gate to return to the chaos region? Why are you loitering around the boundless gate for so long? Chi Feihong's voice came from the sea of consciousness. The black shadow standing on the tree branch was Su Yi. In the middle of the night, his handsome and resolute face revealed two deep rays of light. He said softly, "It's hard to guarantee that the Long family won't make a comeback. I want to search around the boundless gate to see if there are any traces of them staying there." "This Longya girl still calls you Yi Su in the end," Chi Feihong chuckled. His old eyes flickered with a strange radiance. Leaning against the tree branch, Su Yi tilted his head and stretched lazily. Su Yi was also somewhat helpless about Longya. If Longya knew that he was Su Yi, she probably wouldn't have left at that time. She would have chosen to fight him directly. Fortunately, there are no traces. They should have already left Cloud Prefecture. I really have to go. Su Yi shrugged his shoulders and immediately turned into a phantom. His right foot stomped heavily on the tree branch and flew into the distance. Only a few leaves rustled in the forest. After flying close to the ground for a while, Su Yi gradually restrained his aura. In the end, he chose to walk to a large town nearby and use the teleportation formation to leave. In the sky, starlight slowly sprinkled down, welcoming the path of starlight that led the way. Su Yi walked alone on the forest path. Not far away, he could see the vague outline of the wall. Unconsciously, Su Yi began to quicken his pace. The trees on both sides were lush with leaves. The night breeze blew the leaves, making rustling sounds. The clear dew slapped on the skin. In such a beautiful forest, it was easy to forget where one was going. After a short while, Su Yi, who was only concerned with moving forward, suddenly quivered. He raised his head and found that he was still on the forest path. The city walls in front of him were still inhabited by herdsmen, and it didn't seem like they were getting any closer. The mountain peaks in the distance were jade green, and the valleys were verdant and lush, but there were no changes. Suddenly, Su Yi felt a sense of danger in his heart. He raised his eyebrows and secretly operated the Origin Supreme technique. His bright eyes swept back and forth. "Why do I feel like you've walked through this place before?" Chi Feihong suddenly shouted as he looked at the starry forest. I noticed it too. Vigilantly spreading out his soul energy, he no longer spoke. Immediately, Su Yi's divine sense turned into countless tiny gossamer threads, spreading out from his body in a circle. Soon, the gossamer threads returned to his body from afar. The changes within a radius of several thousand meters immediately flashed through his mind. He closed his eyes to explore the mysteries. The corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up as he said, "Seems like someone doesn't want us to leave the infinite gate." As his voice fell, the blood demon killing god sword in Su Yi's hand suddenly appeared. The tip of the sword was pointed at the northwest sky. Following the direction of the sword tip, Chi Feihong narrowed his eyes and saw a faint spatial fold at a low altitude. In such a bright night, if one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it. "Are you a human or a ghost? Get out here!" Bang! Su Yi shouted, and the aura of his Yuan Qi instantly soared. Then, a scarlet sword arc appeared out of thin air and smashed towards the energy ripple. Qi La! A hissing sound pierced through the clouds and cracked rock. The exploding semicircular sword arc was bright and resplendent, like a large bird spreading its wings across the sky, leaving a long trail of faint white steam in its wake. "What?" Chi Feihong shouted. Just as the sword arc was about to pierce through the spatial ripple, a strange phenomenon suddenly occurred. With a tearing sound, the thin spatial ripple was pulled apart from the left and right like clothes, allowing the sword arc to pass through. Suddenly, a semicircular golden energy membrane was exposed in the sky, covering the entire forest. Pa! The sword arc that had already risen high in the sky exploded with a loud bang. The fine light spots that filled the sky were like resplendent fireworks, and the entire sky was as gorgeous as day. Without hesitation, the serious-looking Su-Yi suddenly retreated dozens of meters, looking at the energy membrane in the sky with an ashen face. The wrinkled light membrane began to shrink, and the rippling energy gradually turned into the figures of two dark purple experts in front of him. Ha ha! As expected of someone that even the dragon god has a whole new level of respect for. Long D, I already said that this move of yours is useless. The one who spoke was the escaping Long Shan, and his malicious eyes were filled with fanaticism and desire. On the side, Long D stretched his neck, his sharp chin looking at Su-Yi as he coldly snorted. It's just a small trick. You won't be so lucky after this. Su-Yi, I didn't expect that I would actually see you in the Boundless Sect after surviving the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. If not for this sword of yours, I would have missed you. Long Shan stroked his chin, his gaze fixed on the blood demon killing god sword, which was covered in scarlet veins. Seeing the two returning Long family experts, Su-Yi frowned and muttered, "Why is there another person from the Long family? It seems that he is also a soul controller. You can't underestimate him. The soul energy of the Golden Dragon's aura is terrifying," Qi Feihong muttered, his turbid eyes incomparably solemn. Su-Yi nodded and stepped on the profound handle, ready to fight at any time. Then, he heard a sharp angry rebuke from behind the two experts. "Su-Yi, you tricked me." Long One and Long D stepped aside, and under the bright starlight, a sexy and enchanting woman with a graceful figure walked over. Her face was fiery, and there seemed to be flames burning in her moon-like eyes. Who else could it be but Longya? Longya! Su-Yi's heart sank slightly, but then he straightened his chest and calmly looked at Longya, who was as leisurely as the wind. When she saw Su-Yi's true face, Longya's figure clearly paused, and the light in her eyes flickered slightly. Then, she recovered her calmness and sneered, "Su-Yi, Su, how ingenious." Hearing this, Su-Yi smiled politely and spread his hands indifferently. He raised his chin and said, "Long Yao likewise." Bang! Chapter 2096. Since you're Su-Yi, I'm going to settle the score with you for injuring the young palace master of Long Tsang. Longya shouted. She held the head of the whip in one hand and the handle in the other. Her eyes were like a poisonous snake, and her body was like water. She twisted her waist and aimed it at Su-Yi. Originally, Su-Yi was half suspicious of Longya, and when Longya really appeared in front of him as a member of the Long family, he couldn't help but feel disappointed. She was kind-hearted. Was she trying to hide her intention by saving everyone, or was she doing it on purpose? Su-Yi's gaze landed on the eye-catching ruby on the whip. Finally, he nodded as if he understood. His eyes gleamed cunningly as he mocked. "So you're here to avenge your husband. Bullsh *T. Long Tsang is the young palace master of my heaven palace. Don't talk nonsense." Longya was stunned. She frowned as anger appeared on her face. She unconsciously tightened her grip on the whip. The aura of a 6th-level origin ancestor stage golden dragon shot out along the python whip. Su-Yi narrowed his eyes as he sized Longya up. He shook his head and said softly, "Long Tsang and I fought fair and square in the Tianfeng battle. He was only severely injured, but I survived because I was lucky. Now you're finding trouble with me on his behalf. If he's not your husband, why are you so concerned about him?" Su-Yi stabbed the blood demon killing god sword into the ground. With a loud bang, the majestic force blew a few strands of Su-Yi's hair up, revealing his bright and deep eyes. A few spatial ripples appeared between the two of them. Longya frowned and pursed her lips. When you were in Upper Dragon Village, you were busy helping the villagers. So, it was just to hide your dirty intentions, Sui added with disdain in his eyes. You're lying. It's not like that. Long Ya's eyes instantly turned sharp and her body trembled. Su Yi's words were like a sharp sword that struck the softest part of Long Ya's heart. She wanted to defend herself, but she didn't know where to start. Su Yi watched Long Ya's expression change slightly. Then, he turned his gaze to Long Shan and Long Di behind him and said coldly, "What are you waiting for? What about it? Didn't the three of you spend so much effort to set up this array just to capture me and bring me back to see Draconis?" Su Yi sneered. The Origin Supreme technique suddenly revolved, and a vast amount of Yuan Qi surged out like a tidal wave. Boom! The killing intent on the scarlet sword began to circulate. Su Yi's eyes shone with a cold light. He was already prepared for a great battle. Long Ya raised her brows and let out a long sigh. Her chest gradually stopped moving up and down. She stared at Su Yi and said, "The Long family has their own goals. Now that you can't leave, you should return to the Heavenly Palace with us. I will beg Grandpa to let you off the hook." "Off the hook?" Su Yi's eyes widened. He rested the heavy sword on his shoulder and said, "If I want to leave, do you really think the three of you can stop me?" Su Yi's eyes flickered. He had already calculated his battle strength. The three Long family experts all had the Golden Dragon bloodline, and he could suppress some of them with his bloodline. From the aura, Long Ya raised her brows. She hadn't fully recovered yet. Long Di was good at soul attacks. If they really fought, even if he couldn't win, it wouldn't be difficult for him to escape. Standing behind Zhang Xian, Long Di and Long Shan could tell that the relationship between the two was not shallow. They exchanged glances before nodding. Long Di took a step forward, crossed his arms, and looked at Su Yi and the blood demon killing god in his hand. He said in a low voice, "Kid, don't think you're invincible just because you broke a camouflage. The Long family is not an existence you can imagine. Do you think you can be so proud after massacring a small saint mountain? Kiki, Su Yi, I admire your stubbornness the most. Without the protection array, why don't you summon a golden dragon true body?" Long Shan narrowed his eyes and mocked Long Di. Long Shan and Long Di narrowed their eyes and took a step forward with a dark and cold look on their faces. Strong gales of energy started to circulate. "Noisy! I'll kill you first." Suddenly, killing intent gathered in Su Yi's eyes. The corner of his mouth twitched, and a surge of golden aura burst out from his body. Roar! A hissing sound that seemed to pierce through clouds and shatter rocks resounded through the heavens and earth. A faint shadow of a golden dragon appeared behind Su Yi, emitting a dazzling golden light. Looking at Su Yi's explosive aura, Long Di was stunned. He said in a low voice, "What a powerful golden dragon aura." Soon, Long Di calmed down. His eyes were filled with joy as if he had found a treasure. He shouted at Long Ya and Long Shan, "Everyone, let's cripple this kid first and bring him back to the Long family. Lord Dragon God will reward us greatly." Bang! Just as the three of them were about to take a step forward, an explosion sounded in the sky. 3 faint white rays of light arrived like clouds. One of the white rays was even mixed with a faint golden brilliance. It was boundless and endless. "Without the golden dragon true body, I, Han Wulong, am still a dragon?" A bold and unrestrained voice rumbled and shook the void. Sound Immortal had arrived. Han Wulong appeared behind Su Yi with 2 Origin Domain experts. Su Yi turned his head and said happily, "Sect Master Han." Han Wulong bowed to Su Yi, but his eyes fell on Long Ya and the others in disgust. "Commander, the Infinite Sect has already received news that these guys haven't left the Cloud State. I'm afraid that something bad will happen, so I'm here to protect you." Just as expected, the 2 white-robed old men behind Han Wulong also bowed. However, when they saw how young Su Yi was, the corners of their mouths twitched unconsciously. Their eyes were filled with surprise. Han Wulong, is this an answer to my Long family's invitation? Long Di's face instantly darkened. Han Wulong's arrival clearly showed that he had rejected the Golden Dragon plan. Han Wulong straightened his body, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Even if the other party was an origin domain expert, he didn't feel guilty at all. He said coldly, "The Infinite Sect follows Commander Su Yi. Draconis? I don't know him." Su Yi's gaze was fixed on Long Di, and he remained silent. Long Shan's face was gloomy as he said with a sinister smile, "Good, very good. In that case, I'll go back and report to the Dragon God. I really want to see what will happen to the Infinite Sect if you follow this brat." Update F new IB most. Qianshou, 0 unspecified currency. After saying that, Long Shan and Long Di looked at each other and turned to leave. Su Yi's voice was as cold as ice. "Do you think it makes sense for me to just walk away?" Su Yi raised his heavy sword and took a step forward. His gaze was as cold as a sword. "Su Yi, don't tell me you want to kill all of us? Can you afford to offend the Long family?" Long Shan snorted, and then the corners of his mouth twitched unconsciously. He smiled faintly and didn't stop walking. "Go!" As soon as his voice fell, Long Shan roared and pushed his hands horizontally. The golden light moved like the wind, brushing past Long Ye's ear and whistling towards Su Yi. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.